Hello,
Hello.
everybody. Hey, how's it going? Hey, Mike, how's it going? Good evening, Mike. So, hey, got Amy here with us. The Spiritual Intention 777 and her meditation wands. And I've been watching her for a little bit, for a couple months, maybe about half a year. Maybe it's about that. I can't remember now. On TikTok. I haven't spent much time on TikTok, but there's a few people on TikTok that I wanted to talk to, and this gal is one. And you might be asking, why, of all people, do I want to talk to a woman who makes wands? Darn good question. Well, one thing is, those who pay attention to my work and what I'm up to, and my realization of what trees are all about, being the neurons of this world, and how they connect the underworld with the middle world and the upper world. And they're made of wood. And a lot of these things that we either call spirits or interdimensional beings or whatever they may be, paraphysical things, travel down these trees. I got the images to prove it. And she's gathering these pieces of wood and then putting some more of the elements of this world, where there's crystals and rocks and copper and all that, and making wands. And I'm like, well, what a brilliant idea. So I figured I could bring her on and introduce you guys to her. Amy, thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, it's pretty cool, don't you think?
Yes. How are you doing tonight?
I am okay. And thank you for making my night a little more interesting. So probably been just me doing more and more research. So we're doing a lot of research on the paranormal. I haven't spent that much doing it, but I'm noticing that when it comes to Sasquatch and UFOs and paranormal, they all kind of blend in together, and they end up with the same old conclusion. You throw up your hands in the air and go, I don't know what the hell's going on. Right. At least on my end, but maybe you can help us out. So why don't you start out, Amy, by telling us who Amy is, please?
Well, I'm from Cincinnati, Ohio.
So we're both two Ohioans. You see that?
Oh, really? I didn't know.
Go Bucks.
Yeah.
Got a Buckeye. I'm on the other side I live on the border of Michigan.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Cool. Very cool. So, a little bit about me. I am a mother of 3. I have, like a lot of people, been jolted awake in the last, 4 years, maybe a little more. It's been
good slap in the face, hasn't it?
Been quite a journey. Sure has. And I always had like spiritual intentions. I always had spiritual things happening to me like my whole life. Like literally, my first memory as a child is being 18 months old and seeing a shadow person in my room. I was adopted as a baby and really didn't understand.
So I'll say shadow person in your room. And how old were you?
I was 18 months old.
And you remember that?
Yes, I remember a lot. I remember being 2 years old. I remember being 3 years old. I mean, I remember most of my life, really. And
that's amazing.
Yeah.
You were adopted, though. You must have had, was it halfway decent experience for you? Your parents?
No, it was this whole life is just a learning, growing process,
Well, my whole life has been a big kick in the shins, and that's what it's been like for 56 years. So I don't know about you, but I know it might sound really negative, but it has been. So,
no.
And I think so for you to remember stuff when you're 18 months is amazing because,
yeah,
most of us, because of the trauma and all that, we don't remember anything, do we?
So it's kind of crazy because I remember, I mean, I remember the trauma, you know,
Really?
like forget because of the trauma, but um
I'm
like
doing a terrible job here. Let's get back to getting to know you first, then we'll come back to this. Okay, I'm sorry.
yeah,
'Cause, I mean, it'd be real easy to go down this because, and I definitely want to go down this. 18 months old and seeing shadow people.
yeah,
Okay, that's
that was the story.
the story.
Like
But let's just
uh,
more about Amy. Who's Amy?
um so Amy was a very afraid and confused person for a long time because I had these experiences with dark entities literally my whole life. And when I was 28 when I found my birth mother and my birth father, and I learned that most of what I had experienced was bloodline stuff. It was stuff that it was passed down. It was a result of um, the people that I got away from as a baby, and you know, so those entities followed me throughout my whole life, and I never knew why, or I never knew that you didn't have to be afraid of them. I mean, I spent my whole life just basically being afraid, and really started doing drugs young. I was 10
Mm.
when I started smoking weed, because and then I started drinking, and I was a very unruly teenager. I mean, I was a little partier. I didn't. I walked to the beat of a different drummer, but I always had you know, I always had love in my heart. I always had a lot of love in my heart, and I didn't understand why things were so shitty. Now
I had no idea, Amy, that we're going to go down this path, but you know what? It's cool that we're doing it. Thank you for,
yeah,
no, seriously, thank you for being honest about this stuff, because there's a lot of us, if I'm going to be blunt about things, so there's a lot of us that have had similar journeys, Amy,
yeah,
and maybe it's easier for us to talk about because we've been around the block a few times, and I'm 56, and so it's easier to talk about this stuff, but maybe not. I don't know. It gets on the person, but there's a lot of us that have gone through a lot of crap in our lives, and
yeah,
a lot of it, I think, the what am I trying to say here is that not having very good counseling as kids growing up, and not realizing that we didn't need to be afraid of this stuff
right.
and tormented this stuff. And if somebody would have, the problem is there's a lot of people in our lives who didn't know what the hell they're doing either, right? So,
And I was just going to say, for being adopted, and I was adopted into a family of just well-meaning people that had no idea what I was experiencing. So my mom and dad, who they didn't have experiences with supernatural things. So they were always telling me that I was having bad dreams, or, and it wasn't because they were evil, and it wasn't because they didn't believe me. They just didn't know. They didn't
it's
understand.
ignorance. It's
Yeah.
ignorance. That's what
Yeah.
it is.
Literally didn't understand. So, I don't blame them. I love my parents, my adopted parents. They did as best they could given the situation. They had no idea what they were getting. Somebody, that's the thing about adoption. It's that you get a whole baby that nothing about.
It's true.
Know nothing about where it came from, what kind of, I found out later my birth mom was basically, she was reading the Satanic Bible the whole time she was pregnant with me. So just that, just those thoughts, and just doing that while you're pregnant is gonna cause a negative effect
So
to
when you met your mom, what did you think of her? Do you mind me asking?
So that
Was it positive? Was the better way of saying it? Was it positive or negative? Let's leave it at that.
we can get more into that. For 20 years, it seemed to be positive. And then like 2 years ago, uh, almost 2.5 years ago, it turned very negative.
Gee, I wonder what was happening 2.5 years ago.
Well,
I think for a lot of us, our
yeah,
families fell apart completely in the past 3 years, haven't they?
yeah.
Yeah.
She revealed herself. She revealed her true self, is what she did. She had a cover life. She had this, and I don't know if you know what a cover life is, but it's basically somebody who looks really good on the outside to everybody else, but is still, she is highly trained in the dark arts.
It's real. I discovered it's real too. You know what I mean?
Real. It's so real.
By the way, I think just to let you guys know, we're not going to be pushing anything like Christianity on you. So
No,
neither one of us will be doing that.
no,
And
absolutely not.
I think they're part of the problem myself, but it's another story.
Yeah.
As far as the dark arts.
Yeah. So yeah, when I found her, that was a spiritual experience all by itself. My mom welcomed her with open arms. My sister welcomed her with everybody welcomed her with open arms. We were all very deceived by her, which, it all came out in the end. So now we don't talk to her anymore, which is fine. But
was there any resolution in all that for you? Any peace, resolution, any kind of like that? Any positive?
No.
It doesn't have to be. I mean,
not yet. I'll say not yet. So I'm trying to like put this gently because I don't want to focus on the negative shit. You know what I mean?
Sometimes you need to. It's a dualistic world that we live in. There's the positive and negative.
Yeah.
And a lot of times, I know for me, I am someone who has to focus on the darkness quite a bit in order to see any light.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because I've been blinded by the illusion that's been given to all of us.
Yes.
We're all living in a holographic matrix of illusions. It's amazing.
It is amazing.
And, it's
yeah. So and I know that to be true. What you're saying, just from the remote viewing that I've done, is like I do a lot of galactic remote viewing. So I have actually seen the projector that they use to project our images in the sky, which is pretty trippy. Like
you did.
Yes.
What's up, Diesel? You don't mind if I say hi to a few people? Mike, hello. JT, Sasquatch Confessions, and Diesel, and New Jersey, and everyone else. Don't forget to pop in the chat and say hi. And thank you for joining us. Go back now. I'm sorry. Just got to remember them, folks. Actually, I should post these things instead of just. I get so enthralled with my guests, I forget that everyone else. I mean, I honestly, Amy, I did not expect us to go down this road. I wonder what's going to happen here. We're supposed to be here talking about wands, but I bet you there's going to be a lot more that's going to be happening.
Well, we're going to get to the wands.
So the projection. So you and your, okay, it's not out of body experience. What is it again? You do you with the
doing.
The what remote viewing, you say you saw the projection, which is very interesting. You bring that up because you're not the first person I've heard say that that's what it is. Quite frankly, from my own researches of the film and the stars and all that, it's not adding up to what NASA's saying and what the people in the mainstream media. So that's all I can say.
No, and when I'm doing remote viewing, galactic remote viewing, I don't see black. Like when I'm going out, it's always like very colorful. It's not just, there's times when I see it as black, not very often. More so, I see it with a lot of colors and a lot
So
of shades.
I just listened to a guy who's best with this remote viewing, and it's like who was involved with like the Men to See Goats or whatever the hell it is the movie was based on. He was one of those characters that
Yeah. Okay.
not in the movie when what the movie was about. And he said that remote viewing is one of those really weird things in where it's just hit and miss, and a lot of people actually aren't any good at it. So for you to say that, it's very interesting. So
And,
I had to bring it up.
yeah. So, gosh, I know we're skipping around all over the place, but
This is how my show goes. It's just we're going to go all over the place.
good.
Anybody watched listen to the last show with me and Mike? That's what we do, man. Because I'm an open book, so
Cool.
I got a lot of things to share, and so do you. So don't worry about it.
Like with the remote viewing, though, there's so what happens to me, and this is why a lot of remote viewers and like people who do it like for the military and stuff, like they do it in groups for that reason, because like for me, I will go into a room and say I see a table that has a lamp and a water bottle and maybe a picture frame on it. So somebody else who is remote viewing the same room and the same table might also see a pair of glasses sitting on.
Dawn says hi to you.
Hi, Dawn.
So
That's Irish Red. She's from TikTok. So, like, well, like different remote viewers see different pieces of the puzzle. Does that make sense? Like one remote viewer doesn't have, very few of them have like that 100%.
That makes sense. What I noticed about this when it comes to like Sasquatch, those of us have encountered with Sasquatch, and then listen to those people who have encounters with aliens, in quotes, and UFOs, which I've seen UFOs myself. And then with the paranormal stuff, and then you talk about astral projecting and out of body travel and out of body, experiences and near-death experiences, and on it goes. I think every one of us has a specifically designed path that's not like anyone else's, and I think they've designed it that way so that there's a couple things. I think it causes a lot of confusion with the rest of us because your path and your experiences, the show that's been given to you, the things that you're going to see are just uniquely yours, as are mine. And we try to tie them all together. I'm noticing what it does is it causes us to have a lot of conflict and anger towards each other because it doesn't add up with our experience. And until we can accept the fact that each person's experience is uniquely different than our own,
Exactly.
we'll never have any peace with this until we can just say, okay, that's your experience. It's not mine. I have no right to judge.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But anyways, go ahead. So
no, I totally agree with that. I think that just being in the situation, and I actually took remote viewing classes too. So I did get an opportunity to like be looking at the same things as a lot of different people. And I think that really helped open my eyes to that. What you were just saying is that, 10 people, 10 remote viewers are going to come back with 10 different things that they've seen. And it might be all in the same room, so to speak. You know what I mean? But really, it's just that those people are each getting a different piece of the puzzle. I don't think that it means any one person is wrong. You see what you see.
right.
It's that you don't see everything that everybody else sees, and everybody else doesn't see everything that you see.
I think that they design it that way. I call them. I'm kind of in line with what the Gnostics say. I call them archonic forces.
Yeah.
And I think that they designed this thing in a way that so that everyone has a unique experience and it's just a little bit different than everyone else's. And it causes a lot of confusion. I mean, the answers are in that confusion in our own experiences. And it caused a lot of debate and arguing. I see this in the Bigfoot community, I see this in the UFO community,
Yeah.
if there is such a thing anymore of either one of those things.
I-
And you'll see that happening in the paranormal communities. And I'm sure you, in your own communities, you see that the kind of infighting that goes on. And that's not the way it's supposed to be. And you're just like, I don't know how anybody can dictate how anything's supposed to be at this point. You know what I mean? For the other person, you know what I mean? Because
And we don't all get the same information, and we don't. But that, to me, that doesn't mean that that other people are wrong, though. It just, like.
it's like this, this is the best way to say it. No, shut up. Every experience is tailor made for that person. That's the best way to say it.
Yeah.
And that's the way. And it's just, when you can when we can accept that, then we can, you just throw up your hands and say, okay, well, that's not what I experienced. Doesn't mean that person's wrong.
Right.
It just means that you have different experiences, different tailor made for each person. So,
yeah.
So, okay. I'll shut up now. Go back.
No, okay. Everybody is at their own level of understanding. I'm not going to understand everything that you understand, and vice versa, because we've been shown different things. But that's why I think it's so important for people to come together and stop this fighting and big, it's like, because you know something that I don't know, and I know something that you don't know. So why don't we just share that information? You know what I mean? It's just how I see it anyway. I don't think we're all at our own level of understanding. Now, I will say something very, very controversial. And
that's why I like it that way. Go ahead.
About a year ago, and this is just an example of we don't all get the same information, but about a year ago, I started getting downloads about the chemtrails, and that the chemtrails are actually right now not bad. Like, I guess it was about a year ago was when started seeing them different, because I can see energy a lot of times. And I would see like the big pink and orange orbs coming out of the chemtrails, and they just started looking different to me. And one day I was meditating, and it just came into my head, like the chemtrails that are happening now are reversing the old chemtrails. They don't look the same. They don't act the same. They're still putting a shit ton of chemtrails in the sky, because it's going to take reversing them for a long time. I think there's going to be crazy amounts of chemtrails for a while coming up. But I don't think they're bad anymore. And it's because I can see the energy that's coming out of them. And so I understand that most people would absolutely disagree with that statement. And, they're like, whoa, the chemtrails are making us sick, and we're doing this, and, seeing this, and the sky is all blotted out, and it's taking away our sun. But it's like, I stand by my statement, because that's what was downloaded into me.
Interesting. Diesel says barium BA and aluminum AL make up the trails. Ball, Lord of the Air. Very interesting. Very, very interesting.
I believe that was in the past. I definitely chemtrails of the, up until I'm not kidding, like a year ago was when they started changing, when they started energetically looking different and feeling different to me. And then I got that.
So I was one of these guys, and early on in YouTube, I was one of those. I was a truther for a long time, right? Truther committee. So years and years and years, in 2013 and 12, 13, and 14, I was talking about the chemtrails and warning people about it, right?
Right.
It's now a decade later, and my conclusion is this. I think most people are too blind to even see it. Honestly, after all this time, there's still people that deny that there are still lines in the trails in the sky. You know what I mean? So, to me, it's like, we're all still here. We're all still fighting. Is it? There's a good chance that once again although there's overwhelming. There's just a mountain of patents for this, and it's happening regardless of whether they'll admit it or not. But who gives a crap what the government admits anyways at this point, right? And who cares? They've lied to us about everything else, so it doesn't matter if they were to come clean about everything. It wouldn't matter to me,
right? No.
But the thing is, what you're saying is a very interesting, different take, and that is maybe there's something that we don't understand that's going on. It might be a positive thing going on here, as hard as that is to believe.
It's hard to believe, and I think a lot of people just
maybe you're right. I know at this point, it's been I mean, I remember clear skies, and I know that's just been going on forever and a day, and just trying to get the neighbor to accept it. My buddy who's in the Air Force, right, in reserves, he just retired, and he won't admit it no matter what. That's like, what the hell?
People won't admit that they were even ever bad, like that they're even a thing,
or even doing it.
Right.
Period. And just like, it's pointless to have arguments about this stuff if, I mean, everyone's, like you said, is where we're at. So who knows? Maybe you're right with these chemtrails. Maybe there is something positive that's going to happen with it. I mean,
we'll see, won't we? I mean, eventually we'll find out.
You're the one that did maybe. So when you were, God, I always get these things, ask projecting, and what do you do again?
The remote viewing.
Remote viewing. So I get it always mixed up. So when you were remote reviewing, you saw this, and so you saw that it was something positive, that's something that's going to reverse things.
Yes.
Well, there's these. We live in a place that has these resets, literal ones, called cataclysmic events. And there's quite a few people arguing one way or the other that we're due for one.
Yeah.
And so maybe it has something to do with it. Maybe it has somehow negating it or stopping it. Sounds really naive on my part to even say that, but who the hell knows at this point?
Right.
Because, at this point, the world's had plenty of time to do something about this, right? The voices, the people, and after my experience with past 3 years and being out there and standing up for my neighbors and warning my neighbors and the world as large, I'm just like, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe there's some things I'm just missing here that right now appear to be awful and logically are awful, but maybe in the end they're going to be something positive. Who the hell knows? You know what I mean?
I mean, I just am going to stand by that for me because I was shown that, but yeah, I understand that not everybody has seen that and not everybody can feel that, or, for whatever reason, I'm not opposed. I'm not
18 months to seeing shadow people. I mean, you're a different person already, just right there for saying that, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
You're seeing the world a lot different than most. So.
Yeah.
So who knows? So, let's hope there's something positive happens out there. I mean, I know quite a few guys out there. I mean, Diesel's out there out the doors all the time. JT's outdoors all the time, and they're spraying away. And these dudes are still healthy enough to be running around in the woods. So, if anybody should have been affected by these things, they should have been. They should have problems because they're out in the woods all the time. Out in the air. So maybe we're missing the point here. You know what I mean? So,
well, I hope, I sincerely hope that I'm right and not just seeing some kind of trick from a trickster or something, you know what I mean? But I feel it. So it's like, we'll see.
It's interesting. You don't mind if I have these comments come and go. So Diesel says, I barely see any animals out there. Very odd. Well, it's interesting. And but it's like Diesel, my house. I mean, I got everything running around my yard. So, you know what I mean? So I don't know, from deer to squirrels to rodents to everything out in the sun, tons of birds. So I don't know. It is time that season too, so things just slow down. But you
And
know,
like last year, I even noticed a ton of more, and this is another controversial thing, but I noticed a ton more of honeybees last year. Like for
oh yeah, in your area, okay,
yeah,
that's a good sign. That was wonderful.
great sign. Like forever I couldn't or forever I could walk out in the backyard barefoot. Last year I could not walk in the backyard barefoot. You would for sure get stung. Like they're everywhere.
The sanctuary knowledge says hello, and I bet you know them,
I do. That's Sarah.
and I bet you know that person too. Not your
Not your typical mommy. That's Sarah. Well, yeah.
hello. So it's interesting. In my yard, I have wildflower gardens, right?
Mm-hmm.
On the front and the back, and on the side, and I don't. It's hit and miss. You know what I mean? As
Yeah.
far as bees and all that, I don't see that many honeybees, but I have a ton of other animals around. So, so who knows?
And
Well, that's a good sign that you're actually seeing the honeybees, because it has definitely been. They have definitely the powers that be, the dark side of things, have been very aggressive at.
yeah. Well, did you know that honeybees aren't even on the endangered species list anymore? I just read that recently.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah.
So maybe how much of this also has to do with the Wi-Fi and the five thing that you can't say.
Yeah. Still not
What's going on, Tammy?
I don't feel like that's a good thing. I can see a positive things happening, but I don't.
But it's interesting, and I should play that video. Have you ever seen the video of the ticks? There's experiments. They did experiment with ticks. They put them in jars. And in the jars, it says a very symbolic about us, but there's other thing going on here too. So they put them in a jar, and they're bouncing and bouncing and bouncing and bouncing, hitting against the lid of the jar. And after a week or so, those ticks and all the ticks after that would never jump any higher than the top of that lid. In other words, they would never leave that jar. You would leave it open, and they would stay in that jar. And what my saying is that somehow the meat suits that we're in, and along with all the other animals, seems to adapt with the electromagnetic frequencies that are being emitted at different levels. And it does kind of make sense, because when you think about solar flares and pole shifts and everything else, that this would change periodically, right? And ones they would adapt, they would evolve to the new electromagnetic frequencies. So maybe that's what's going on. So I don't know. It's just throwing it out there. So
Yeah.
Because you're seeing honeybees again, right?
Definitely.
So that's something. So
yeah. I mean, I do think that things are getting better. I think that it's hard to see, because through the awakening, it's like, well, we're late. You know what I mean? We're late seeing the things that we should have been seeing forever. So like we have to, like our brains have to catch up with it all, and then, it's like, I almost think that things are being changed for the better before we're even caught up with everything that we should have known was wrong. Do you know what I'm saying? Does that make sense?
I think there's definitely hidden hands involved in this, whether in the ethereal realm or in the physical. And I think we've gone through an awful lot of negativity. I know I have in the past decade. I was doing this long before I was trying to get other people to catch up with me. And now it's like, for years, right? I mean, that's all I did for years. It was my mission, is to warn people about all this stuff. And I don't know, in 2022, I decided I'd really get serious about a few different top areas, in particular spiritual realm, and if there's any truth to it at all.
Yeah.
And I'll be damned. The creator revealed to me. When I say creator, I'm not talking about the God of the Bible. I'm the creator. So, and
Right.
revealed to me that that's real, and that there's something more going on here. It's a lot more complicated than that we recognize, and that I think that I don't think it's necessarily. It's good to know what's going on, but the truth of the matter is we have to get honest about stuff. We ain't going to do jack shit about any of this stuff. So why don't we figure out what we can do about stuff? And I think it comes down to the individual. You are going to have to do work on yourself, because it's clear to me after all these years, and guys like me and gals like we're doing the same thing, warning the world about what they were doing in the sky, or they're doing this, that, and that, and not and the past 4 years. I mean, I threw myself under my sword. I really did. I sacrificed everything to try to warn people, right? And I know I saved a few lives, but the thing is, in the end of the day, maybe the best thing to do is just start talking a little more deep about things. Maybe what our ancestors did. Our ancestors. Okay, we live in this rationalist world right now, right? It's very hierarchical in structure, but then there's the indigenous, the shamanic way of life that our ancestors lived for thousands and thousands of years, and I think we're going to have to learn how to blend the two.
Yeah.
And that's where it comes down to. I think that's going to be what I'm seeing. The possible answers for a lot of things is that blending the two, because if we can't get rid of the hierarchical structures and this rationalist system, because if we did do that, well, most of us are going to end up starving to death if we do that, right? So the next thing then is maybe we should go back to our ancestors. I see that's what you're kind of doing too with the wand and everything. We're going to get to that.
Yeah.
And getting back to our roots, to the people call it Mother Gaia, whatever you want to call it. I mean, I'm not a New Ager in any way, shape, or form. I'm not trying to offend anybody, but
Right.
I'm just saying we have to be a little more connected with the creation.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? And we have to learn how to have this balance, because if we're one way or the other, I mean, we all can't be sitting around, staring at our navel and nothing's ever going to get done. But the same token, we can't live the way we've been living the past 50 years or 100 years, because it's not good for the environment. It's not good for us. It's not good for our families. It's not good for society. We're going to have to change things. So we're going to have this balancing act, you know?
Yeah. And it's like, we're going to have to figure out the things that actually make us happy, the things that actually are productive for society,
And for ourselves, and for our own sanity, and for our own purpose and meaning, right? I mean, because it sucks to it sucks to be always on edge, worrying about the next thing that's going to show up.
Yeah.
And I believe this is part of this dark magic that's happens, and I really believe that I was one of the useful dupes that was warning people about this stuff, thinking I was going to help change things. And I think I don't want to say that we should put our bury heads in the sand like an ostrich, but I do think that we have to get realistic about what's going to happen. We have to observe what's been going on. And if the closest thing to us getting together was what we saw on the streets when it came to Black Lives Matter and etc., and burning down places and yelling at each other, that was not going to work. That's not going to help anything. So we have to reboot. I think we all need a big reboot, one way or the other.
Watch the news or anything like that, so I don't even know.
I don't have television. I haven't had television for. Actually, the only time I ever watched television when my son's mother was pregnant, and that was 12 years ago. And
really, wow.
I haven't watched television in 12 years. So.
Wow. Yeah. So I don't even know what is happening as far as Black Lives Matter and Antifa. I don't even know what is happening anymore.
It's like disclosure, this whole UFO stuff. I've watched this for 50 years. I don't know how many times. And every time they pull some kind of stunt like they did this past 4 years, they bring up the big disclosure promise. We're going to finally tell you that aliens are real. And I'm just like, can anybody really believe any of this crap anymore? Who cares what the government says about hey, guess what, government? We already know aliens are real and the UFOs are real and Sasquatch is real. We don't need you for any of this stuff. Thank you very much.
Right. We're already talking to that are supposed to. We're already doing the thing. We're already talking to them. I don't need the government to tell me that aliens are real or whatever it is that you want to call them. I call them higher dimensional beings, interdimensional beings.
I agree with you in that latter part. I think this alien thing is part of the deception too. When I say alien, I think we're the aliens.
Right.
No, seriously, just look at us in our meat suits and the avatar they walk in and look at everything else. We're the only things that have to wear clothing.
Right.
They'd have to have this kind of shelter that we have. Most of us couldn't survive a week or two out there. Most of us could survive the first few days out in the elements.
No.
So we are the aliens. And so I think they don't want us to realize that we're the aliens.
Yeah.
Because that changes the ball game completely if everyone realizes we're the aliens.
Right.
You know what I mean? In a lot of ways, So
yeah.
Where was I at with that before I derailed you? I'm so sorry. I love these conversations, these one-on-one conversations when they get deep like this, because anybody that follows me knows, man, I can go and I can go.
Just go with it.
Because that's what I think about all day long. I think about this stuff. So
me too. Yeah.
Maybe that means I need a life. I'm not sure.
I actually was about getting a job recently just because but no, I'm not really going to do that. That's I'm not.
Well, some of us are meant to be the shamans and the medicine women and the healers and the adepts and the media. We all have a role. It doesn't mean that anyone's better than the next, and we all have a role in life. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I worked a long time as an adult until they took me out with the swine jibby jab. But
yeah.
So now it's time for me to think of deeper things. So we all have our cycles in life. So some of you people are fortunate enough to focus on this stuff your adult life, but then there's the danger as well, because I see this with a lot of people when the greed and money and recognition gets in the way, and you start losing those special gifts that you first developed or acquired. You know what I'm saying?
I do.
So that's a double-edged sword in its own right. So it's
through doing all the drugs and drinking when I was younger, I really suppressed any of the gifts that I had for a long time. I actually call it, like, for a while I was in arrested spiritual development because I was just doing the drinking, doing the drugs. I did the 3D jobs, and I was a dancer for 17 years.
Were you?
In a strip club, not like a professional dancer.
So really? So
yeah.
Well, you just laying it all out with this. I totally respect you. You know what I mean? You're being honest.
Nothing to hide.
And there you go. You can see that people can change their lives too. You don't have to be. You don't have to stay in that place. I'm cool, man. Thank you for sharing that. So 17 years. Wow.
17 years, and everything I look at it like everything that I've ever done has brought me to this point. After I danced for 17 years, I cut hair for the next 10 years, and I worked my ass off, like literally and figuratively. I cut and I stood in this position and cut hair for 10 years, to the point that I had a connective tissue disorder. It's called Ehlers-Danlos syndrome. And I didn't know that I had it until I was like 40 years old. Well, so from the time I was 40 until I was like 43, I had 3 hernias in my stomach. I had, by the time I was 48, I had 2 dislocated shoulders from this connective tissue disorder. You can't have surgery when you have this because you can't cut into the connective tissue and expect it to heal. So it's like, you know, I did all the things, worked so hard, did whatever I could to make the money, and it didn't get me anywhere. You know, it got me like basically dislocated shoulders, not being able to work.
Yeah.
When when the COVID hit, I had already been out of work for a year. Like the year before everything happened was the year that I woke up, because it was the year that I had to um and this is another interesting part about just the being the healer, or being, you know, like um what I went through my whole life to get to the point where now I can be the healer, and now I can live as, you know, in a mostly natural way of life. Like I had to go through all of that
What's going on, Mike?
bullshit, you know?
Yeah.
Um and I think that when you, and this is just my own opinion, anybody can disagree with me, whatever, but I think when you are honestly supposed to be a healer, or like that kind of energy work, like you almost die getting to that point. Your body, like you almost get to the point where like you fall apart, and you get to um like you go down to nothing so that you can rebuild yourself, basically. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I think sometimes you have to what they call it, it's just you have to be totally broken to your knees, hit your
Yeah,
bottom, you have to hit your rock bottom before you can
like broke.
start to get honest about working on yourself and building yourself up.
Yeah,
Until you realize, you have to recognize that you are in the circumstances that you're in, all right? Until you
yeah,
recognize the problem before you can even do anything about it. So, and generally, the biggest issues that we've discovered we have are ourselves, are our biggest problems. So,
yeah, absolutely.
right. So, I mean,
I can't remember what the shoulders mean. Is that like a burden, like you're burdened carrying things on your shoulders? Spiritually, I want to say that I think that's what the shoulders.
unless one of your friends, one of the gals from TikTok, might have the answer that can share. This
I
is this is not
have for
my
that.
area of specialties. That's the reason why you guys are here,
Yeah,
to teach me a few things. You know what I mean?
up or find that real quick, but I feel like the shoulders are like you're burdened with you know, and I mean I had many burdens in my life, starting when I was 18 months old, you know. um and that went, I mean my life has been so crazy, because when I was 4 years old,
Do you know
what,
Jeremy Gibbs?
hey, what
Yes,
was the question? Oh,
yeah.
Jeremy, it was, what do the shoulders mean spiritually when you're like I had dislocated shoulders? I believe that the shoulders mean that it's a burden. You're burdened with something. That was the question. We were looking for the spiritual.
Damien, how's it going, bro?
Um,
Damien's one of those dudes that's proven that Sasquatch is everywhere and is an interdimensional spiritual being. He is in Ireland, and so he films them there. So
is that the one you recently? Was he on?
no, that the Southwest Sasquatch Southwest Europe, Southwest, yeah. He's from Portugal. Actually, he's from
Oh,
Lisbon. My ex-wife, grew up in Almana, Twin City of Lisbon. So it was interesting how the synchronicity brought us together. But from my research, from my own personal experience with Sasquatch and have my own encounters, no matter what they want to call me woo or not, because I'm not, I'm pretty serious about research, right? So, and when you see a Bigfoot go through a tree, you have to reassess things.
yeah.
And the
So,
tree doesn't break. So, you
so
know,
they're just, they are interdimensional.
that's right. They're,
Yeah.
or as JT
So
says, we say they're ultra dimensional.
oh,
Ultra dimensional.
cool.
So,
So yeah, dragons are interdimensional as well. see a lot of dragons when I'm meditating toys.
Hey, listen, the things I'm filming, nothing shocks me. I mean, I've literally filmed things that look like gnomes and dwarves and the hooded people and I mean, it just goes. So a lot of these things that people said were folklore and fairy tales, and it's happening. The digital cameras. The only difference that I'm doing and what everybody else is doing, I'm filming the trees, and I can't get anyone else to do it. Some people occasionally do it, but they don't want to do it. I guess it's because it's a lot of work. I guess I don't know. It's just, and it's kind of embarrassing. I guess maybe it's awkward. What are you doing? I'm filming the trees. Why are you filming the trees? And film the spirits. And this, by the way, that's happened to me out there. Why are you filming the trees? Because I discover there's things that live in the trees that you and I don't know anything about.
Right.
And then when you tell them about it, then they think you're absolutely batshit crazy. And I say, well, you can find out for yourself too. We have the resources now for all of us to become digital shamans as part of the shamanic rituals and traditions, to be able to interact with the entities from the different realms, whether the underworld, the middle world, or upper world. And I think the cameras and the modern technology is going to allow for many of us to do it. The problem is then having that balance so we don't go batshit crazy when we see this stuff. You know what I mean? And if we think, you know what I mean? Or that they're all demons or monsters when they're not. You know what I mean? They're just part of another dimension, just part of the creation.
Yeah. Yeah. I try to tell people that a lot. Like, I have a couple of friends that are really stuck on the demons. And it's like, but everything.
I was too when I was still stuck in Christianity. I mean, I first saw I had my first. I believe that the reason I had the encounters in 2017 was to wake my sorry ass up because I was so delusional from religion.
Yeah, in 2017. I'm sorry.
I said I had two major Bigfoot encounters. That was hardly anything to stuff that I experienced that year. I mean, it was crazy, but I was so wrapped up in Christianity and religion that I was like, they're demons, because you know what I mean? I didn't have any shamans or any medicine men or women to like help me out. So I'm listening to the only source I had to listen to was fellow Christians. And then I realized nobody knows what they're talking about in that.
Right.
I'm going to have to do this something different. So I had to change all directions. So,
so when I was going through this Ehlers-Danlos syndrome, and I had, I guess it really took like a couple of years for my whole entire body to break down, like to the point where like my knees were dislocated, my ankles would roll, and I love to hike. I mean, I love to hike. I lived in the woods practically. And so I had to start walking when I was trying to go through rehab. I had to start walking on a track, and I was so mad about it because I'm like, what the hell? I should be in the woods, right? But I couldn't even be in the woods because just walking on uneven ground would make my ankles roll out from under me. So, and I remember like clear as a bell, it was right at the worst part of it for me, and I really just could barely walk, and I was walking around a track, and all of a sudden I looked up, and there are three blue like jelly looking beings right here, but they were in my third eye at the same time. Like they weren't like, from the ground to the they were
jelly beans.
They were like jelly beings, like jelly.
No. It's fascinating. You brought synchronicity. I've been studying jellyfish in the sky. I don't know if you know about the spiritual jellyfish in the sky. Do you know anything about this?
I saw your video of your jellyfish in the sky, and that
there's a lot more out there, and if people are filming that stuff, and then beings they're calling jellyfish too, but their beings are like almost like humanoid shapes, and they're like hovering above the ground and kind of. So you say, and you bring that up. I mean, that's synchronicity there.
They were blue, like clear blue, and they it was like they did this, like, and at that moment I could feel the center of gravity, like right in the middle of my feet, started to ache, like really ache, not in a painful way, but like just like in that throbby, achy way that you knew something was different. And at that moment, I knew I was going to be okay. Like that was when I started healing. And I think that those blue beings, they brought enough healing so that in that moment, I knew I was going to be able to do it. Like I felt the feeling come back into my feet. And even though it didn't feel real good, it was just like, at least I felt alive. At least something started to feel something. You know what I mean?
Sure.
And that was of me healing, of me getting better. And it took about a year for me to really like get strong again. But those blue beings, those they're like jelly beings. But they were what brought me healing. They brought me enough to kickstart me. And it was like, I knew that they weren't going to heal me completely, because anything that is for your highest good won't heal you completely, because they want you to do it yourself. They want you to know that you can do it yourself. But that was the moment when I knew I was going to be okay. So
Sure.
that was like probably my first really good experience. Like I had the negative entities my whole life.
And how many of those blue jelly beans or entities were there?
There were like 3 of them.
Always 3. Isn't it amazing?
Is
That's not always 3, but the 3 shows up all the time.
3, yeah.
A lot, I should say.
So my first, I guess like when I was really not scared, like there, you know, when you grow up seeing the dark beings and the shadow people, and I'm telling you, my birth grandmother, she was actually, are we allowed to say like, are we censored here? What?
Well, it depends. With
No.
medical things, like certain medical things that we've gone
Yeah.
through, we're not allowed to like say the literal words here, because
Right.
they still censor me. I still get the only reason, like I said before I, I decided to stand up for everybody. So I used to have thousands of subs, but my channel, along with several hundred others, maybe a few thousand, it depends. I can't figure out how many, but January 6th, 2021, they took my channel down and hundreds of others. In the early morning, they did it to me when everyone else was distracted with that sideshow there in Washington, D.C.
Yes.
And they're more worried of us little small channels and 1,000 cuts than they were the big. But it's interesting that because we did that on like BitChute, which I still on there. But if you want to find the most negative group of people in the world, go to BitChute. But anyways, it's a nightmare. But being on these different platforms along with this and just warning people about what the agenda was for the past 4 years. I know I saved a few people's lives, and those lives were more precious and more important than any stupid YouTube channel. So, but since then, they won't let me get past 500. They just won't let me do it. So I have several channels, or a couple of channels YouTube knows. They just keep knocking me down. So, but and just
that happened. I remember after January 6th when everything, so many people got canceled.
What's up, bro?
It was crazy.
Yeah, it was a lot of it was revealed to people that had eyes to see, and anybody thinks the eugenics program is not real. But the thing is, now that we know, we don't have to play in their sandbox when it comes to that stuff, and their jobs and their money and everything is not that important. And once we learn to appreciate ourselves, and since then, there's a lot of lawsuits out there, and there's a lot of people that are losing their shirts because of this stuff. And I think that's the reason why they started up the thing over there in the Ukraine, and then this disclosure nonsense. It's all just try to distract people. And I just would encourage everybody not to worry about it, but never forget what we went through the past 4 years. Don't forever forget it.
Right.
Don't forget it, because they're going to try to pull it again, because that's what they do with their black magic. So
Right.
this chaos magic, and in order for them to control us, then if enough of us stay stable in all this, and this goes back to the shamanism again, and interact with the spirit realm and interdimensionals, is to get back to what our ancestors were all up to, and have that healthy balance, so that we have somewhere to go to besides them.
Yeah.
And their false gods and their false promises. So
right. So after I started healing physically, yes. So let me think. I'm trying to put things in order. I don't know how long you have to go tonight, but so
we can do this. I mean, I've done shows that are 5 hours long, so
gosh.
actually I've done one show that was 6.5 hours. So
Diesel. So okay, well, good. So
as long as everyone else is having a good time.
after,
There's one more thing, and then I'm sorry for just interrupting with you, because we've been doing this for an hour.
No,
So and we, as usual, we kind of went over the place, but I was, when you're having a good time with people, you don't worry about it. So those people that are interested, especially those that you know and that I know, if I don't know you, I can't let you up, because last time I did that, some jerk ended up giving us a virus, you know what I mean, and hacked us all. And next thing you know, there's an image of some dude laying in his bed and jerking off. That's all we had. Literally, that's what they did to us. But if you have, or someone that you know, and if you guys want to join us, and say 10:30, I will put a link in the chat. And then you can join us, and you can join in the conversation. So
yeah,
you got something to share. It's something, and if you don't mind, because with your friends anyway. So
yeah, my friends are good people. They're all good people. Yeah.
So so go ahead with what you're saying, and then but at some point I'm gonna need to take a break, to be honest with you.
Okay.
Actually, do you mind if we take a break now? Hey guys, let's do a break now. I'm gonna put. Can I put the this is really chaotic, this show. Hopefully we have a part 2. So because I am having a good time. I'm gonna put the invite in.
Okay.
And then what I'm going to do, you and I can take a little break. I'm going to play a video so that I can use a restroom, and I want to have a cigarette.
That's perfect. I'll go use. Yeah, and then we can add people.
So if you guys want to join us, here's a link. Only people that I know or that you know are going to be allowed to join us. So if you don't know me,
don't do it.
If you don't know Amy, then
don't ask.
Don't even bother coming up. But if you want to join us and have the conversation, please. So we'll do that. Keeping the thoughts in mind you have, Amy. We haven't even, you know what? We haven't got past the first question. Who are you?
I know.
We still got to talk about these wands and everything. But okay, folks, I'm going to take a little break. I don't know if you see the latest video I just made of the entities and
do the jellyfish. Do the jellyfish. That is amazing.
Oh, I can't. I won't be able to do that. I can. I will. Because I just made a video of some of the images I filmed. It's heavy metal. I don't know if you've seen it yet. They're images I filmed of entities in the trees.
No, maybe not.
So I'm going to play that, and so I can take a break. Okay. You guys think about what's going on. You might have heard it. If you've already watched it, it's only 6 minutes. When we come back, we'll get back to doing some. Because this has been a great conversation so far. We jumped over everything, chemtrails.
We're good.
Anyway, a jab, everything. You know what I mean? So I'm having a fun time. Thank you, Amy, for joining. I didn't know how this is going to turn out, but it's really been an enjoyable conversation. So here we go. Let's play this. This is a this is a wormhole that I filmed in which a bunch of entities popped out during that 2-day period back in the spring of this year. So a few extra images. What's up? Thank you for that break.
No problem. So,
being a typical old man, I couldn't use the restroom. So, yeah. So, anyways, anybody who's interested, they can join us. There's a link. Just go ahead and follow the directions. And if not, you know what? It's okay. So, where were we at with all this?
So, well, I just wanted to say, because I saw Carrie text me, but I didn't want to go out of this because I didn't want to disconnect this. Carrie was saying she only wanted to come on if it was okay with me. And I just want to say it's totally okay with me. It's totally okay with
absolutely.
me.
As long as they are friends with you and they're trustworthy, that's absolutely. Anybody that I know, you can join. So, so we've talked, we went over all of our bunch of stuff here just about you.
Right.
But we haven't really got to the wand thing. So this is part 2. Let's talk about what is a meditation wand?
Well, it's just a tool that I use to help meditate. Now, I used to use them a lot. And now I don't use them so much. I have kind of a theory behind just crystals and stuff in general. I feel like we have the crystals inside of us. We're becoming aware of that now. So like I kind of looked at it like working with crystals activated the crystals that I have inside of me. You know what I mean? And I want to.
It's okay, buddy. It's okay.
Yeah.
We got plenty to talk about. Just don't worry about it.
So I started making them now, and I was kind of on my way to getting that when I was telling you about the blues healing me and bringing me that healing, and just that I had been, already kind of forced into an awakening when I had to quit working. That whole thing was crazy for me because I had actually, always worked. I've always had a job since I was 14.
Sure.
So
we've all been good little slaves, haven't we?
Right. And I took great pride in that for a long time. Like I've worked since I was 14. I guess through the connective tissue disorder, and that was very humbling, because it made me depend on other people. It made me depend on people in my family. It made me, I had just gotten divorced, so I actually had like a new boyfriend that was even stepping up to like help take care of me. It was very hard to accept that. And being alone in my house, just going through this suffering, like it forced me to look within myself. It forced me to heal myself, to fix myself. It made me look at things that I would not have looked at if I was still working all of the hours and doing all of the things. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. I do.
Yeah. So now looking back, I feel lucky that happened to me when it did, because I was already like coming out of shock, so to speak, by the time the COVID hit. I was, then I was watching everybody else go into shock, and I was pretty okay. Like during that time, I was actually really getting happy, probably for the first time in my life, and feeling really
do you
good.
think the spirits were preparing you for what was about to happen?
Absolutely.
Okay.
100%.
I think so too with me too. I think I was more shocked at everyone else's response
Yeah.
to it than I was the actual happening of it because I already knew about the
Yeah.
event 201 and everything else already and the other events and the preparation and what was going on in 2019 that most people weren't paying attention when they stole $30 trillion from the American people and no one noticed that. But I'm not making that up. $30 trillion.
Mm,
So
goodness.
that's
So yeah, but I do
that's where
that.
they got their money for to pull off the scam that they did. So
Yeah. I do think that I went through everything that I went through, first, so that I could, yeah, be over the shock of it and help people who, then were going through what I went through the year before. When you're all of a sudden, and it was like, gosh, the whole country was just all of a sudden at home. I had already done that for a year, so I mean, I feel like, yeah, that happened for a reason, for sure. Um,
interesting.
and so the way that I started making these wands, um, so I'm like waking up, I'm feeling happier than ever. I had quit drinking. I had quit all of the prescription medications that I had been on forever. Like, I quit doing each thing one at a time so that I could kind of like keep my sanity while I was going through all this, detoxing from drinking, detoxing from doing any kind of other drugs, detoxing from pharmaceuticals, like,
Yeah. Are you still? Do you mind me asking if you're still sober today?
um so I smoke a little every now and then.
Well, that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about the drinking.
Oh no, I'm good. Yeah.
It doesn't matter. You smoke. I don't care.
Yeah.
Oh, smoking marijuana is like the least of the
Right. And
you
I
know.
smoked marijuana for the last year. I actually just started smoking a little bit here and there over the last month. So I don't. It's fine. I feel fine with it.
Yeah.
Oh, I
Well,
don't.
I've been sober for I can't it's 20 years.
Wow.
I think it's 20 years. Yeah, it's 20 years.
Yeah.
21 years. Not that it means anything. After a while, it doesn't really matter. So,
Right.
but I was Mr. AA for a long time as an AA guru. I'm one of the few people that did the steps all the way through once. Most people never do the steps all the way through once. I know Alzheimer's because we're from Ohio, so right. So AA started here. So and so never even got past step 4, and I did the steps all the way through 6 times alone. I think that prepared me. I think I really wanted to know the creator, God, something
Yeah.
deeper in life. You know what I mean? I think when you talk about these drugs and all that and how we use them to suppress the pain and suffering, the confusion that we're going through. And I think that's where it really comes down to, really, we think about it. So it was bad choice of how to deal with it, but we didn't know any better at the time. Right now.
Right. Absolutely. And like I said, I do believe that everything I went through brought me to the point that I'm at now, and I don't know that I would appreciate what I have now if I hadn't gone through all of that, um so I um yeah, 18 years now. Wow.
Good job.
um
No, it's not worth it, is it?
no, it's definitely not worth it. So what was the solar eclipse? December 21st, 2020. That was the first time that I looked at a solar eclipse. And in that moment, I think that it healed my pineal gland, and it healed my eyes to the point that, like, after that, I started being able to see into other realms, like while I was awake, while I was just, you know, doing stuff. It was literally the happiest time of my life. I can honestly say that nothing scared me anymore at that point. And it was short-lived. And that was December of 2020. And then in March of 2021, my 19-year-old son chose to leave this earth by his own hand.
So
Yeah.
my apologies. I feel sorry. How do I don't know what to say.
Well,
I don't know what to say, but geez, what experience must have been like.
There's nothing.
There's so much pain in this shit show. I mean, that's one of the things I just. The gods, I don't know why. I honestly think that this is a soul trap matrix. I think somehow we got sucked up in here, whether voluntarily or not, and we didn't know what we were volunteering for. And if you look at Bob Monroe, we talk about out-of-body experience, and he talks about the loosh, and it seems to me the only thing, the reason we're here for, primarily for the gods, in quotes, is to produce loosh, so they feed off our pain and suffering. I know it sounds really negative, but I can't find any. People ask, why are we here? And the people make up all sorts of excuses and learn lessons and all that kind of stuff. Like, what lessons? Well, we got this recycling stuff, this reincarnation thing. Listen, if we're learning lessons, how come there's always a memory swipe every time we show up here? How come we don't remember the things from the past? We don't remember anything. We might just bits and pieces of it, if you're one of the lucky ones, bits and pieces of it. Right. So I think that there's something sinister going on here. And I think, like me and JT talk about, it's the spirits and it's Sasquatch, and it's finding yourself and finding your authentic self is the way out. I think our spirits say, you know what? We don't want to come back. We've had enough of this place. You know what I mean?
The most amazing thing that I have ever seen while astral traveling or remote viewing, and this is another thing that people love to disagree with me about, and it's totally fine. It's totally fine. But when my son was crossing over, I actually was able to see him crossing over. And at the time when they were all, okay, so it was a group of them, a group of souls, like the biggest crowd of souls, like people standing shoulder to shoulder up there. So when he left, I didn't know where he was, and I didn't see him for like 18 hours ish. So that was like very scary, because you're told all of the things, all of the things about taking your own life and what that will mean for your soul. Well, here's the thing about that. We've all been forced reincarnated forever, no matter how we left the earth. It didn't matter if you passed from cancer or a car wreck or taking your own life. All of us, we've all been forced into that reincarnation machine forever, and our minds wiped forever. It didn't matter how you left. The day after he left, I got to see that machine shut down. So I say this because that's what I saw. It's like the chemtrail thing. I believe in my whole heart that there is a new process. There's always going to be reincarnation. Let me just say, there's always going to be reincarnation. But that machine was shut down 2.5 years ago. It'll be 3 years ago in March. And I do believe that there is a new process to reincarnating, or, so in my remote views, I have actually seen a negative Earth, a negative 3D planet
Mhm.
with no Satanism. That's the catch. So, and I have also seen a new Earth, a new 5D Earth. I don't know what the process is going to be to get to either one of those places, but I honestly don't think that we are being forced to reincarnate here anymore. That's just my opinion, based on what I saw 2.5 years ago when my son crossed over.
Well, well, first of all, Jerry asked, what if it is a soul contract thing?
I mean, so it's just, like all we can do is give our opinions and what we think about that right now, and
It's true, right?
And I feel like, kind of like what you were saying, did we agree to come here? Did we not? Were we tricked or were we not? I mean, I think that for so long we just went into that tunnel of light because we were told, how many times are you told, well, your loved ones are waiting in the tunnel of light. So, you go in there. Well, once you got in there, you weren't able to leave. You can't walk into the reincarnation machine and then just turn around and leave because you're hip to that they're trying to like hijack you or recycle you. Like once you were in there, and this again, just my opinion, I think once you were in the machine, you could not get out unless you agreed to come back. So what really was our option? Did we really even have an option? So we agreed to come back. That's so that we didn't have to stay in that machine for all eternity. Like what, what I'm saying? Like if you're given a choice.
Can I share with you a lucid dream I had?
Yeah, absolutely.
So this lucid dream I had, it is going through it's like the purples and the blues and the violets and those colors. I was going through the tunnel, and in the tunnel, the beginning part of the tunnel, on the edge of the tunnel, on the walls, were all the people that I've experienced in my life and others, all shouting at me and saying, "No, you can't do this, and you got to do this, and come this way, and come that way, and follow us," right?
Mm-hmm.
And then I got past there. Then the next part of that tunnel were all these things that I just showed you, these entities, these beings, that hooded spirits and shadow beings and things that look like Sasquatch and all sorts of strange looking things. And I was able to face my fears with both those, face the social pressure of the voices of all the entities and beings in the past and around me, and then these other entities. And then I came into this, it's almost like I guess the ovum or the womb of this woman. It's like the woman, but it's not really a woman, but it's like, it could be a woman. It could be Sophia actually, but it's like a womb. And then the outside, it had like the stitched lattice like thing, like somebody quilted. It's like a quilt. You ever seen a handmade quilt and how they put all the different patches and all that and make this quilt and the stitching and all that? But it was transparent, and it wasn't like a. But on the other side of it, these large pyramids. But inside this lattice was the purple like valley, and at the distance was the light. And the light was calling for me to go to the light, right?
Okay.
But I was going to the lattice to try and find some way to get out, to get to the pyramid, because I didn't want to go back into the light. I didn't trust the light anymore. And then, but the thing is, you go into the light, and what my impression is, and it's just my impression. I can't say for certain. You can't say for certain anything.
Right.
That's how they designed this place. But if you go into light, that's the spark of life. That's when. So they say that actually they argue whether it's the moment of conception is when life is started, or is it a few weeks later. And then what's my impression is it's a few weeks later, something like that, sometime after conception, and the egg, fertilizes, or the zygotes fertilize the egg, and he starts to develop and form the basic early stages of human being. And then that sparks there, and that leads us there, and that's that spark of life, the spirit or the soul, depending how you want to look. That thing that traps our spirit in the meat suit, the avatar we live in, right? And so the thing is, this is how I see it from now. It's like, so the only way to, first of all, is to figure out now that you have sovereignty. You have a right to say no to all this stuff.
Right.
And all the entities that show up, and if they look like Jesus or Muhammad or whatever, understand that they're not going to be the real thing. They're not going to, because there's no real thing to begin with. So it's this, whatever, they're going to give to you what you want to see. All right. And you have to and like the Tibetan Book of the Dead kind of refers to this as well, as this light show, and you have to be able to resist it. And then you're going to have to tolerate being in that womb and the darkness and the abyss for maybe seem for eternity, right? It could be just throw out a number, 30 lifetimes, or maybe it could be 1,000 lifetimes, whatever. It may seem like 1,000,000 lifetimes. If you can resist all that, at some point you show yourself enough, you show enough of your own personal sovereignty, if you will, then you kind of earn the right to move on. And I think when we look at the stages, so if you look at what we deal with today, like if you go to church and all these different groups, right, and love bombing, and people love bombing, say, oh, we're so happy you're here, and all these groups, right? But they're just waiting around the corner. There's going to be all the cat fighting, the bickering, and the arguing, the cheating, and everything. And it's just like, the nightmares. You have enough experience, what's going to happen, right? And you know that this, love is something that's an emotion. It's not. The tangible things are the things like being commitment, loyalty, the things that are the ingredients that make up what we call love. But love itself, it's scientific fact, it's an emotion. So, and I think that we get tricked by this. There's this thing called love, and we've all had relationships like this, right? Maybe not all of them, but I know I have had. It sounds like you've had the same thing, where you're in a relationship with somebody you're totally in love with. That person's told you they love you, and you're neither one of you together anymore, because obviously that wasn't true. It was just the emotions and the moment and everything is what we wanted to hear. But when we could develop enough resistance in this life to say no to everything, to politics, to the fake relationships, to the fake religion, to all, what I mean? If we can, and then you're going to have to, like you had early in your life, from 18 months, the shadow beings and all these other entities. Are you going to be able to develop the courage to resist it and say, you know what, you have no power over me. I have power over you. I decide.
What a trip. Yeah.
If I let you in or not. And it's the same thing. And so I think there's something deeper going on here than the occultists and the adepts and the pharaohs and the priestcraft of the old and the shamans. They all knew this, right? It's all about life is all about preparing, and they always say it's about death. It's always about, and you always hear this from the materialists and the people that want to brainwash us. It's all about death. It's about worrying about preparing to death. And yeah, but it's what is death? It's about transferring to the next phase. Right. Do we want to keep coming back here or not? Our ancestors, and a lot of First Nation people are talking about this as well. It's about preparing yourself to go back where? To the place where you came from. Where did I come from here? Now, and that's not everyone. Some people actually are
from Earth,
are from the middle plane, the middle world. That's really their place. But for a lot of us, we know if you're one of those people like me who said, man, I never fit in, I never belong, I don't relate with any of you guys, and they'll try to tell you there's something wrong with you psychologically, you need medication on that. The reason I don't fit in is because I don't fit in.
Because I'm not from
Earth. Yeah, that's right.
Right.
And no one ever said, Mike, you're right. It's okay that you don't fit in. And but through maturation and maturity and just from observation, I realized, I don't fit in because I was never meant to be. Somebody hijacked me. Somebody tricked me to come back here. This could be my first time, or it could be multiple times. But all I know is I don't want to come back here again.
I don't want to come back here.
I'm sorry. I don't care. Then they say the reason is because the tactileness, you can feel things. And you know what? I've had enough bowel movements in my life. I don't need to take another one. Yeah, you know what I mean? There's nothing that you're going to offer me to put another round. Well, this next time around, you're going to be a great athlete and be able to run and all that stuff. And I'm like, you know what? The problem is, and I think this is where the resets come in, as we advance and we start to get a little more clever, and we start to recognize that there's something wrong with the gig.
Yeah.
There's something wrong with the gig that we're in, and we're like, nah, we're not going to comply with this stuff anymore. We start challenging not only the physical authorities around us, but then the spiritual ones, and say, no, absolutely not. The power of saying no, but saying it in the right way, in the right time, and why you're saying it. That's I think the big key to all this. And so I could be absolutely wrong, but I haven't heard anything better yet. So, and there's a few people out there. What's his Mark's channel, Conscious Research Group or something like that. I'm sorry. I could look it up while you're talking and post this. You guys know, but yeah, there's a lot of people. There's not a lot. There's slowly there's more and more people, especially people who've been doing the out of body experiences and traveling and doing what you're doing, and you're starting to put the pieces together and say, wait a minute, there's something seriously wrong with what's going on here.
Yeah,
because it's like they're trying to get us to keep coming back here. So then the question is, why? What's the benefit for them? And the best answer I've heard yet, and I don't say it's the right answer, but it's Bob and Rose, that's Loosh, that we're this is a giant Loosh factory, and we're here to produce Loosh to feed these archonic forces, these dark spirits, or if you call them dark spirits, they're interdimensional beings. They're from a different dimension, and somehow they harness our energy. So our anger and our bitterness, and even love. Love is the greatest form of Loosh. It's making love is the greatest form of bringing Loosh. Right. And by the way, when we break it all down, it's like it's the best moment in our life, and even they have to make it so it's like not only the best moment, but also the double. That's dualistic in its own right. You end up having children, and then have to go through the heartache and pain and the things you go through. I mean, I'm not saying that, like I love my son, and I'm not going to trade him for anything. He's the best thing in my life. But same token, I'm just like, it's just like the heartache and pain and everything just to have the son.
Yeah.
And then he has to be raised in a broken family because for multiple reasons, not because I wanted it, but I honestly don't think that even my son's mother was any control in her decision making of it. I'm not trying to knock her. I just think she was manipulated by these forces, right?
Right.
Just because if it was the best way for them to produce the greatest amount of Loosh for the longest amount of time.
Yes. Break the family.
Right. And so it's constant thing, the bickering, the heartache, the separation stuff. Your children go to the next, you let go of them. I mean, every time I have a son, even though I've set up the situation so I can give my son as much as he wants to be with me, right? And 2 blocks away from the house, right?
Nice.
And I did that, deliberately so he could be in my life, be in his life, right?
Yeah.
And so it turns out it's probably averaged out with a year that I have about half the time, even though she's got the custody and all that. She's at the house and the cottage and everything, and I live in Daddy's house. But I know I have to be there for my son. I have to let him know that someone, I'm not saying that his mom doesn't care, but he needs to know that his dad cares.
Right.
And it's just as simple as that, and I need to be there for him. I know what it's like to have a dad who didn't give a shit and remind me every day that he despised me. So, and I not necessarily say that to make people feel for me, because the people, the thing that just drives me nuts, Amy, is I know there's billions of people right now who have worse situation than me, and worse, billions upon billions upon billions upon billions of people before us that had it even worse than us. And I'm asking myself, you know what? Hey, look at, I don't want this another rodeo, another ride in this rodeo. I can't imagine what everyone else went through. What entities are thinking this is okay? I mean, whatever decided and put us here and designed us, they're a bunch of sick fucks. That's what seriously they are. And I'm not just saying that.
Oh, no.
I mean, any one of us would have designed things completely different. I guarantee you, all of us have much more compassion. All of us have much more love and compassion than any of the gods that they offered us. Any of us would do better. I mean, none of us would ever punish and try to guilt trip us and say that it's our fault for making mistakes, even though you designed us to make mistakes and to suffer and pain. And anyways, I can go on and on. I'm sorry getting this preaching here, but my point in all this is that I think, from my observation, the endless hours of research, and the thing of this place is, even after all that, the way they design it, you're never going to know the truth about anything. So then it comes down to, can you believe in yourself?
Yeah, that's
because that's the only thing you got.
It's all down to we're all gonna fall for some tricks here and there. It's all like some bullshit out there, and at the end of the day, the most important thing is knowing your own heart and doing the best that you can do and knowing yourself,
It's not something that's easy, of course not, because here's the problem. Deep down inside, there's the moments when we recognize our authentic self, but then we're in this meat suit. For instance, the brain, it's like a giant rejection valve. It's like it only allows so much the mind and the spirit and the soul to even operate properly or in unison, or even they say that we only use like a fifth of I'm not talking about the brain, I'm talking about the mind, right? The rest of our true capacity. They design us so that, we look at what's going on in this world, we all know that like the way things are being run is bullshit, and none of us, if we would choose to any of these options, whether politics, the school, religion, the banking system, wars, marriage itself, on and on. When you really question all these things, you're like, I would never design any of this stuff.
No.
And then what happens? Then the body gets in the way, the aches, the pains, the hormones, the neurons and everything. Is the meat suit that we're in that has nearly 5,000 genetic flaws. You know what I mean? You're just like, who designed all this stuff? And then they try to blame us on it. Well, it's your fault. You didn't eat right. You didn't have the right air. You didn't have the right water. And like, wait a minute, you created this stuff. Why?
Right.
I mean, at some point, it's all designed to make you feel guilty for being in this place, going through the stuff you're going through, and it's all your fault. Have you guys ever noticed that? It's constant. It's constant. It's all your fault. If you just would respect the mother guy and the planet, and you're like, I didn't tear down those rainforests. I didn't do any of that. I didn't pollute all those freaking rivers, and I bet you didn't either.
No.
And if I had a choice in the matter, none of that would have happened.
Right.
So then you're asking yourself, what the hell are we in here?
They did it, and they did it on purpose. And then it's designed to make it be our fault somehow, Going to bed.
He's going squatching in the morning. He's going
good night, Squatch.
He's going to be looking for his Sasquatch people.
Nice. That's when I've seen a lot of different beings, but I haven't seen the Sasquatch yet.
I've had weird experiences. I had in my first encounter when I was standing next to the Crow Indian medicine man. I believe that's Sasquatch, and there was two of them, by the way. But the one that got 15 feet in front of us as he got to the other side of the ravine and went through a tree, believe it or not, I think saved my butt from that Crow Indian medicine man who was practicing dark magic, death magic. So
Really?
I think he saved me. But then the second time around, I got my ass handed for. I did. This is in December of 2017 for 3 days. It started with one manifesting in my backyard. I was taking my son to karate practice.
Oh my God.
Really 10 feet in front of my face and the mask. I could see the eyes, the teeth, and everything. But it wasn't alone. There was multiple entities. And it ended with a whole bunch of craziness in my place. And then my buddy upstairs, when he came home from, because he, like I say, worked for the Air Force Reserves, and he'd come home from airport, air base around 3:30 a.m. He shows up and there's a dark, he said it's a really tall dude in this dark like hoodie, and he's super tall and he's big, and he wouldn't accept the fact that it was a Bigfoot, right? He ended up seeing it himself, you know what I mean? It was, anyways, but I think that all that was designed to wake my ass up.
Yeah, I honestly,
they didn't kill me. They didn't wipe me out, you know what I mean? What's that?
I think I would shit my pants if I saw a Bigfoot. Just because that would be a shock.
I think you're a lot tougher than you realize. I'm sure if you've seen all that other stuff, I think you would handle. You'd be like, "Wow!" Just remember, they're not there to hurt you. Right. That's part of the deception too. You hear all these endless stories.
That's like the dragon.
Scary story after scary story, and then okay, give us the evidence, and there is no evidence. And then you talk to guys like JT at Sasquatch Confessions, or Mike Patterson, the guy I was talking to. I don't know if you listened to the interview from with Mike last week, but when was it? I can't remember the last interview he did. And he's got some images of his Sasquatch up in Sasquatch, Ontario, and his interactions, and the millions, like they give him marbles. They just like pop out of the sky, right? Marbles and handprints and stuff. And nobody believes him. And he shares it with people, and everyone gives him hell. And then it's like, and you're just like, and he still does it, even though the abuse I see that guy go through, that there's just no way he doesn't make any money doing it. And when you do this stuff and you start sharing this about the spirit realm and something deeper, that's your reward, is you know this and you're sharing it. There's no money in it. There's going to be all sorts of forces that are going to be tearing at you and, trying to bring you down, whether in the other realms or in our own realm, whether in the flesh or not. And it's just like, if I talk about this stuff because I want to know the truth. Yeah. And I know that it's part of their obligation. In order to know the truth, I have to have enough courage to share the truth that's been given to me, regardless of what happens to me in this world. And if everybody thinks I'm full of crap, then oh well, there's nothing I can do about it. You know what I mean? I don't, I would love it if everybody loved me. Yeah. But in this journey, I discovered it. You get anything but that. It's the complete opposite. It happens. You're going to walk this path alone for a lot, and you're going to have to learn how to deal with it. And I think that's part of his preparation, is to get to the other side, because if you're going to be a true rebel and warrior that you are and escape, you're going to have to say no to a lot of things on the other side. And there's a lot of things that are going to try to trip you up. And I think it's preparation here. If you can resist all the deception, there's just endless. It's a minefield of deception. The more your eyes are open, it's like, that's not true. That's not true. That's full of crap. They're lying to me about this. That guy doesn't know what he's talking about. That girl doesn't know what she's talking about. And then you start to develop what real empathy and compassion is, because you start realizing none of us know what the hell we're talking about. And how did this place happen that way? I mean, that's a really important question. How did we end up in a place like this, where you know, the more we learn, the more we realize we don't know anything.
Oh my gosh. I
There's
know.
something wrong with that equation.
Yeah. Or that every time you do learn something, it just, you have so many more questions about, like, yeah, every time I learn something cool, I'm like, oh, well, now I have more questions. Like, now I know how much I don't know about whatever it is, you know?
How's it going, Elizabeth? Good to see you again. What's going on, LT? What's about ground pigs, Lord? Yeah, LT is just joking around. So I'm going backwards a little bit to try to catch up with you guys a little bit. Sorry if I missed any questions. I got in a real big rant, one of my usual rants. Thank you for putting up with that, by the way, Amy and everyone else. If you guys feel like I didn't say anything that was worth a damn, let me know, because I definitely want to, you know, if I can be corrected in any way, because I don't want to come back here.
No, me neither. I know
don't.
a lot of people that are like, oh, next time I'm going to do this and that. I'm like, I'm out. I'm out. I will catch you all on the other side because I'm out. I'm not coming back here. I think I've done enough. I've had enough.
Ran away. Diesel says, I'm here. Just rant away. Yeah. Really, cell towers close. So, so these wands. So what I find fascinating about it first is that you even thought up of the idea. So how did that happen? And so we'll go then from there. Then we're going to start talking with the materials, and because I think it's very creative, very imaginative, and it's kind of it's very. I don't know where you got it from. Maybe I'm wrong about this, but I get the impression that it's very authentic.
Yes.
It's very you.
Yeah.
Is there other people that make the exact same type of wands, or is it just?
I have never seen anybody make the kind that I make.
Well, that's what my impression. And not to say that they don't, but if you don't know that, then that means.
Yeah.
I'm watching that wand thing and I go, damn, why didn't I ever think of that? So anyways.
Well, so, you know, I was like really getting into crystals and stuff like 4 years ago, whatever. Honestly, it was after my son passed and I was just spending a lot of time by myself in the woods. You know, there's not really, I didn't like go talk to people or hang out with people a lot during that time because it was like.
So you spent a lot of time alone in the woods.
A lot of time alone in the woods. Plus I was.
What did you notice when you were alone in the woods? No, I'm serious, because this is like, I discovered there's very few people that actually can say that.
Gosh, alone in the woods is
a lot of time alone in the woods.
A lot of time. I mean, yeah, every day, a lot of time alone in the woods. It's where I found the first stick. I mean, I just looked down and I saw the first stick that I ever used to create a wand, and I looked at it and it was like, I'll show you which one it is because it's sitting right here.
Well, let me blow you up here. That's got to be heavy as all get out.
It is.
Got to be a lot of energy in it too.
It will. You could beat somebody's ass with this. But if you can see it, so it was like, it's one stick and then it had this vine wrapped around it.
Right.
Going up it. And it was just like something about that vine wrapping up around it like that. And then I just saw, like, I could just see the energy swirling. And it was like, oh my God, that's how energy moves. That was the first time that I realized how energy moves.
Like a vortex or like a tunnel or a funnel?
Yeah, like in the spiral motion.
Spiral, okay.
Okay, you can take me up big.
Oh, let's look at that some more.
So, well,
if you don't mind, I would like to look more at this. So there's lots of copper in there, and that reminds me of electro culture, and that copper is a great conductor of ethereal electricity and electricity.
Uh,
So they say.
and I don't know. I mean, I never learned that. I never read a book that said to use copper. It just came to me to use copper, and that copper is like the best energy conductor. And I wanted the energy from the stick. I could see the life in the stick. Just like your pictures of the beings in the trees. Like I can see those little faces in every stick, you know?
Hmm.
Um,
That's interesting. You say that. You can see that, and it's not. Now, can you say that that's the difference between pareidolia and seeing the faces?
no.
Okay. Well, I
What?
do. Pareidolia is something like you see a couple of knots or bump or it's bark, and it kind of looks like a face. You'll see it in trees and all that. And then the real things are things that actually pop out of the trees. Like I try to show you guys. I mean, they're literally popping out of the trees. The spirits are like hooked to the tree or climbing up the tree, traveling
Yeah.
the tree. They're not actually, uh, it's kind of like a kitchen sink, kind of looks like a face, or what would be
Right.
the appliance that might look like, because a couple of knobs and everything, it looks like two eyes and a nose and a mouth and that kind of stuff. That's pareidolia. Um,
Okay.
but way branches, or maybe a couple branches, and maybe there's some bark or whatever that makes like a couple eyes and a mouth. That's pareidolia. When you see actual spirits in those images and that I'm sharing with you guys, that's not pareidolia. That's what I'm trying to share with you guys. Two different things. And you could just look up images of pareidolia, but that's a good thing to have. But regardless of that, whether pareidolia or not, you're seeing faces, which is interesting because
Yeah.
then there's a wood, and this wood, you saw this in the wood. Now, what caused you to be attracted to that one piece of wood to start this all off?
I don't know. It was just a cool stick. I think it was just a cool stick.
Taurus field, that's right, man. Taurus
Yeah.
field is sparrow and within everything, and eventually, yeah. And
Now, the
every,
other thing about the wands is that where I hike, where I get my sticks from, and some people really, really hate this when I say this, but I'm telling you, I ask spirit every time. I hike at an Indian burial ground close to my house. So I feel like the energy that is in those sticks is like there's like ancestors in those sticks. Like I feel them. I feel their spirits. And I do ask before I take them. So
I can feel them too at times. Here's Diesel says in 2018, while I was in the woods, I saw a symbol with trees on the ground and a X with three horizontal lines. I now carry a copper walking stick in the woods with a 1880
ooh,
copper, what is that? Fennel sun
sun copper.
topper. Well,
Ooh,
this is what I'm thinking about with you too, and you're doing the stuff that you're doing, and I think there's a connection between you and the Bigfoot world. If they would ever find out about this, and I could see Bigfooters walking around in the woods with one of those things that you have, and I could just see, you
think a
know,
Bigfoot would like a wand.
or even a wand or a staff that has like that. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
That
I've made a couple of staffs, and they are awesome.
I mean, I would if I
Yeah,
tromping out of the woods, I would definitely walk around with something like that. Knowing what I
yeah,
know now, I don't
yeah,
care if they want to call me woo or not. It doesn't mean anything to me. So
yeah. I don't care. I
I
would.
want to know the truth. I don't want to be hanging around with a bunch of, meatheads trying to pretend they're, Rambo in the woods. You know what I mean? As if they're going to do anything to Sasquatch. You know what I mean?
Right.
100 years. This is the thing. This is it's all this stuff is all interconnected. Really is. Sasquatch, UFOs, spirit
Yeah.
realm, interdimensionals, ghosts, paranormal. It's all connected. But people don't want you to know this. 100 years they've been wasting our time, waiting for them to show up with a Sasquatch to put in the zoo, right? And it's like, and I'm like, it's like we can put we have elephants and bears. I always use that argument about bears. You know how hard it is to find a bear in the woods? You know how easy it is to find a bear in the zoo? I mean, you just counter that argument with that one, right? So, and I mean, sure, we don't have whales in swimming pools because they can't survive in it, but we can know where to find whales. The one thing we can't track or hunt or capture or whatever is Sasquatch, amazingly. And
That's a good one. So I have a question for you.
yeah, wouldn't that be so? I'd be so cool. Walk around the woods with like a staff, the top of the staff, just like that.
Yeah.
I'd feel so much like a wizard. I'd feel so much like a shaman walking around with a staff like that. I just think that's awesome.
That's a good one. This was a good spiral vine. This was a vine. But I want to ask you something. What do you think is the reason, or do you even think about it? What is the reason why you can see or have seen Bigfoot? Do you think it's a matter of your frequency is matching their frequency? Do you think they reveal themselves to you? Like, is it a combination of those two things? What is it?
Well, first I'll answer that. First, Sasquatch is not Nephilim. Nephilim is talking about the men of renown, men. If you want to know the story of Sasquatch, is the story of Esau and Jacob. Esau was a Bigfoot. He was carried from head to toes and like a goat. He was the wild man, the great the man of the forest. Whereas Jacob was the plain-skinned person like us that lived in tents. Jacob symbolically represents us. Esau is Sasquatch. Esau is not Arabs. It's not Muslims. Muslims are not hairy like a goat. So that's that first one. So thank you for the question. That was a great question. Secondly, is why did it happen? It happened because something motivated me. The spirits, I believe the spirits did it from the beginning, but and that was to disprove Bigfoot and prove there was another government psyop. I started in the beginning, 2017, to disprove it. I was interacting with different people, some that were well known in the Bigfoot community, especially in the internet world. And within 6 months, there's one standing 15 feet in front of me.
Crazy.
And the things I discover about Sasquatch, the things that you need to know about stuff that really have great opportunity to see in them, connections with cemeteries, water, power lines, quarries, rocks, trees in particular. And something motivated me to start. I started filming stuff with my camera to my side and behind me. Then I find out later, within a week or two afterwards, I discover Scott Carpenter no longer with us, who's the one who thinks that Bigfoot is Nephilim. I slapped my head. Scott, how you're a smart guy. Can't you read a book? Gosh. Anyways, but he's now where he's at. So, and he was doing the same thing, and he was showing images, and I'm like, I'm having images too, but he's getting credit for it. And so I just kept on talking about it, and then on and off, it was like, this is a very abusive and rough journey, right? Everybody thinks it's like this great road, and everyone's going to be, oh, thank goodness you told us the truth.
No.
Everything that's going to be thrown at you. How much do you want to know the truth? I discovered, at least for me, my journey, because everything's tailor-made for each person, right? For my journey, it's like, how much do you want to know the truth? And that's all I want. Okay, get prepared to get your ass kicked at every turn.
Yeah.
And you better stand up or pick yourself up and keep going. And that's exactly what's happened. There's no fan base. There's no people just like, oh my gosh, I can't wait to be with Mike Adams. You know what I mean? In fact, it's the complete opposite. If there's Mike, I don't want to be around him. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I'm closer to the spirits than I am to human beings now. And I didn't plan on that.
Right.
I didn't plan on that at all. In fact, 7 years ago, if spirits were demons, and I didn't really believe in angels. The reason I believe in demons is because all the evil shit I've seen in my life. And now I
Right.
realize that Bigfoot's not a demon, and that we have been informed about that. And I'm not saying there's not in this dualistic world, there's not bad spirits, or that will do that will, not they can torment you or cause you misery. I'm not saying that doesn't happen. What I am saying is that overall, these things are not what they don't think like us. They're not like good and bad. They're not like this whole, they're all Satan's army and all this crap. That's all BS.
Right.
And I mean, they have a mission, they have a purpose, and a lot of times these scary moments are designed to wake our asses up and snap us out of the stupor that we're in. You know what I mean? But
Right.
we don't know how to handle it. Our ancestors, like the First Nations, I'm part Ojibwe, and they talk about big Kitchissabé, how it coming out of the trees, and how it always came out of the trees, and that it was spirit. A spirit is about integrity and honesty. Honesty is all about Kitchissabé, and it's so true when I watch people and how because I was honest about my interactions, and I got the shit kicked out of me. I look at all these other people, and they insist that they're too afraid to talk about what's really going on, so it's all flesh and blood,
Yeah.
and all this, and we're gonna count them down, we're gonna get them, we're that close, we got all these footprints and hairs and all, and I'm just like, or they take it the other way and they get super woo and they turn into a new age kind of cult thing, and I'm like, listen, it's about honesty. Honesty is telling the truth about your experiences. You have Kitchissabé in you. Did you know that, Amy? How do I know that? Even JT knew it. She said, he goes, Sasquatch is with her. Because you
No.
just opened up like a book and said everything. He said, screw you. I mean, you said stuff that in this first hour that most people would be too chicken shit to say in a lifetime. And you said it.
Oh my gosh.
Well, no, that's what Bigfoot is about honesty. It's a spirit of honesty. It's a scary looking spirit. I mean, it's a scary looking face and it's big and massive, but it's a spirit of honesty. That's what our ancestors always told us. It's a spirit of honesty, integrity. You have it.
Oh, that's really cool.
It is cool, isn't it?
It is. I like
JT recognized it right away. I did too as well. It's like, shit, she's just not going to tell us everything. What the hell?
Oh, that's funny.
But that's what it's all about, man. It's not about, and people think it's a flesh and blood thing. And I'm sorry. These things can manifest in the flesh is what they can do. When they can literally, they'll call it cloaking. What they're doing, they just change the vibration in the hair and like, oh yeah. And then you watch or you see somebody walk right through a Bigfoot. What happened then? I thought it was just cloaking and it was just hiding, or what, it goes through a tree. That's not cloaking or hiding. We're talking about something that is interdimensional. And it turns out that a lot of the old timers, the old hats in the Bigfoot community know this and are too afraid to talk about it. Just like it's the same politics going on there as in UFOs. You got to talk about this machine thing, and it's about the aliens. They're from some other planet and they're coming to save us, or they're visiting us. And yet most people in the UFO community would come to the same thing. It relates to paranormal stuff. These things, Jack Fille's talking about these UFOs going through trees, coming out of the water, and not even a splash. I mean, on and on it goes, going through buildings, and people just don't want to hear it. They just don't want to hear it. They're too afraid to talk about it.
So do you think that so the people that are saying that they have Bigfoot hair or whatever, like, do you think that's not true? They can't have it?
No, I'm not saying that. I'm not saying that out. But what's interesting about it, they only know one part. They know there's half female. They don't know what the other part is, they say. Here's the same thing. Here's a great story. So there was a UFO encounter. There was a sighting. And so the investigators afterwards went and checked out that there was a vehicle where the UFO supposedly landed. And there was all this like dusty stuff on it, right? So they collected it, right? Guess what that dust was made out of?
Huh.
Vegetables.
What?
Guess which vegetable?
What?
Carrots. What lives in what eats carrots?
Sasquatch?
Rabbits.
Rabbit.
Where do rabbits live? Going down the rabbit hole. I mean, they literally make fun of. They're always jerking our chain. So, you're hearing reports of aliens, and they're half vegetables. I felt them manifesting out of the trees. I got one that looks just like an alien, at least with bug eyes and all that.
Yeah.
And I'm like, we don't know what we're talking about. We don't have, after all this time, we can't figure out what this hair is. It's not human. We know that much. Then there's angel hair, and there's big giant footprints that end up in buildings and in churches carpet. And then Mike Patterson, who's an actor, he's talking about, they just go right through your house, go right through your walls. Well, how do they go right through your walls and not tearing down your walls? It's because we're not dealing with something that's solely flesh and blood. And when they manifest with the plasmic, the fourth state of matter is plasma, which represents 90% of the whole universe, right?
Right.
And we're going to have part 2 with this series because I hope there's going to be a part 2 so that we can really wrap up. But this, so 99% of the whole world is made out of plasma, and these entities are popping in and out of these wormholes. They call them wormholes, right? And it's like little moments of time in which they come from one dimension to another, and it's through plasma. And so they appear as if they're physical, and they can do things that are physical. They can move trees and do all sorts of things, but then they vanish. How do they? And they're literally vanishing. They're not.
I love the plasma beings.
Yeah, well, I think that's because that's what we all are, and our true essence is that too. We're people say that we're packets of energy, right?
Right.
And so the universe is made up of 99.99% of plasma, not the physical realm. So that's, I mean, it's true, and it is speculation, but when you put all the pieces together, it's leading in that direction. Does that make sense? It's still leading in that direction.
Yeah.
It's not leading their flesh and blood. And you get these aliens doing the same thing. You hear people having encounters with aliens, and so say, I was poking at or touching it, and it felt like it were marshmallows.
Yeah.
I'm like marshmallows.
No, I've never touched one. I can't say that I've ever touched one. But I see a lot of different types of beings when I'm meditating. Yeah,
it's an interdimensional being sanctuary. In fact, if you're still there, we say in the field that they're familiar with, they're ultra-dimensional beings. They're not just interdimensional beings. They can transfer multiple different dimensions from what we can tell. And they show up at the same time when they're supposed to be UFOs and orbs and all that. So this whole thing about, so you're in the woods, and I'm totally convinced that the spirits are connected with the trees, and the trees create this vortex, and they're full and the trees are like elevators that go up and down from the underworld, the middle world, the upper world. And you're going in the woods and you find this stuff, and you're finding peace and solace in the trees. And all of a sudden you start connecting with the spirit realm.
Yeah.
Amazingly in the woods. So you find it interesting, and then they motivate you to take sticks.
Yeah.
Pieces of that
and thing. Vortex. They're like a vortex within a vortex.
It's like something's guiding you.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the reason why. It's one of the reasons why, like, she seems like a really nice gal, but that whatever's inspired her to make those wands.
Yeah.
That's not just her.
No.
From my experience, it's not just you.
Right. No, I'm sure.
You know what I mean? And I think that's really cool. It's not just you.
I love making them. I mean, I zone out. I go to a different place when I'm making them, and I make I make them out of all different stones for different reasons. There's like my love scepter. I call it my love scepter. It's like rose quartz and rubies and Lemurian quartz. They all do something.
It's like, can you see it again? Can we see it again, please?
Yeah.
I'm sorry. At some point, I'm sorry. This whole time I'm ranting instead of.
Okay,
I
God,
see. So,
what? You're fine.
trident. It's a trident. You find tridents all the time in the woods. Trident. Why did these things make tridents? I have no idea. But you just made a trident.
I
What's
don't
the
know,
power
but
in three in the trident? What's going on there? Do
that's
you
how
notice?
perfect that crystal fit into. That was like an odd shaped crystal, and it just like plopped right in there. Perfect.
Sanja Jefferson. Do you know her?
Nope.
Hi, Sanja.
Hi, Sanja.
I think I met you. Well, actually, I've been meeting her actually on the comment section. So that is so cool. Got any more ones to show?
But I have like, so that's the rose quartz, and then this one is aquamarine, and it's like when I'm stressed or like just needing to calm down or cool down, like you can literally, it feels like you're in water when you hold this one. It just like you can feel yourself just calm down like you're in water.
Right.
It just feels so good. So there's like, I just started putting together different combinations
Very
for
phallic-y too, isn't it?
it's what?
Phallic-y. It's like phallics. I'm not trying to be disrespectful, but let's be honest, it is. I mean, there's a
Oh,
power. No, there's power behind it. There's a reason why there's an obelisk in every
oh
corner. So what's going
my,
on with that?
that's so funny because I swear it's just funny that you said that. This one, I put this one on my Facebook page, and I'm like, the day that I put this on my Facebook page, I started getting random like porn stuff sent to my Facebook page. And I got so mad about it. And I was yelling to my sister, like, oh, I don't know why Facebook is so stupid. Why are they sending me porn? And she just sent me a picture of that scepter. She was like, do you really have to ask? This is obscene.
So I was trying to be disrespectful, but it's part,
Good chuckle out of that one.
sex regeneration, the
Yeah.
birth, life, death. It's all part of the ritual. It's all part of the shamanic dance or magic. So let's
Yeah.
see.
So that's another one. And
Let's see that. Let's see that. Can we see? Because
this is another rose quartz one. This one would love to find a home someday. This one is not mine. I would hope that somebody would come
So
here.
with these wands, what do you do with them? You just leave them in the house?
I mean,
Do
I
you walk with them? Do you?
meditate with them a lot.
He wants
But
to know how heavy are they too.
they're heavy. Yeah. So I've made a couple for a couple of Reiki healers, and they actually request that I don't make them so heavy because they're like using them as tools over people. So they want them to be lighter. So yeah, these big ones are like, I call them scepters more than wands because
Scepters.
they're just big. And I don't know. I just like that word. It's like it. But like this one is real dainty. This is a little dainty girl wand. And
Well, that's a girl one, huh? I think a lot of guys would like a little dainty one like that too.
yeah,
How long is it?
anybody can have. It's I think this one is like 14 or 15 inches.
So about an inch and a quarter, or I mean, foot and a quarter,
Yeah.
foot and a quarter. Then
Yeah.
something.
Like
And it's all wrapped with crystals, rocks, and copper. And then do you glue them on there? Do you use any
I
particular?
use epoxy. I just use epoxy resin, the 5-minute setup stuff. They're solid. I mean, they're you would have it for your whole life. I have no doubt. They're really I'm not I'm kind of a klutz. Like most of them get dropped while I'm making them, and they're tough.
Oh, really? So it'd be interesting as somebody who's like Diesel or somebody who's out there gifting or do have gifting sites to give one of those to a Sasquatch and see what happens, man.
Oh my gosh. If
Could it
I
be cool walking? You see this Sasquatch, he materializes, has one of them in the hand.
He's, I would cry real tears if I ever, that would be so cool.
It
Yeah,
would be cool, wouldn't it? It would be awesome.
that would be so cool. And this one, this is one of my favorites. It's made, the top is made of celestite. So and then there's a little piece of apophyllite in there. I don't know if you can see it good. You probably can't. But it has amethyst in it, and it has more celestite in it. And this is just for like connection with the interdimensional and the higher dimensional beings.
So how does that work? When you
When I'm meditating, I just use them. But here's the thing, like,
Diesel says I could. He says I could. I think he's talking about giving one of those to a Bigfoot as a gifting site.
That would be amazing to give one to a Bigfoot. That would
be even more amazing too if then the Bigfoot takes it and then and it gets the Diesel in reward finally gets the ultimate image of a lifetime. You know what I mean?
Oh my gosh! And it's holding one of my wands.
Yeah, it would be like, there you go. That would be awesome. Diesel deserves it. If anybody does, that guy works his butt off. He's always out in the woods, man. Oh Makes me extremely envious. There's one person I'm envious about is Diesel because the amount of time he spends in the woods.
I love being in the woods.
Yeah, like, when I was a child, I loved it too. I used to love being in the woods. That's my refuge as a kid. You know.
Yeah, my refuge now. I mean, when it, and and so I've had a couple of friends that I used to party with a lot, friends that still struggle with drug addiction and whatever, and probably I would say 3 times in the last couple of years I've had friends that have come to me and like been really down on their luck and whatever, detoxing. One girl was detoxing, waiting to get into like a halfway house or something. She was waiting to get into a program. And so she stayed with me for like 3 or 4 days. And she had nothing to help her come down off of, I think she was doing fentanyl, honestly. But yeah, but she said she was doing heroin, whatever. It doesn't matter what it was. But what helped her was going to the woods, because I'm like, shit, I don't really have any money. I don't know what I can do for you. You can stay in my house for a couple of days while you're waiting to get in here. But in the meantime, we're going to go to the woods and we're going to walk barefoot and you're going to feel better. And this girl, 3 days in a row, was like noticeably not jonesing, like, because we were,
you find your humanity again in the woods. You know that? You find your true essence.
Yeah. And whatever, and I don't know the science. I don't know how it works. I know that people say that they do brain scans of people where before and after walking in the woods, or what happens when your feet touch the ground, like different parts of your brain light up. I am 100% convinced that that girl in particular was not jonesing because she was connecting to the earth. Like whatever that is that heals you is a real thing. The earth really does heal you. I really believe that, because you don't just come down off of heroin and fentanyl with nothing,
right,
and be okay. And the only thing that we were doing was walking in the woods. We were walking at the burial ground that I walk at. It's called Shawnee Lookout, by the way, where I go.
So it's an Indian burial ground there, huh?
Mm-hmm.
You find arrowheads or anything out there?
No, just cool sticks.
Okay. Well, yeah,
Yeah.
I think we'll have to talk about next time about tree structures. Have you ever seen any tree structure in the woods? Do you know what I'm talking about?
Like when they're set up and like formations.
Like,
So
like they look like teepees or
yeah,
lined or like an X
yeah,
structures.
yeah.
You find them in the woods?
I've seen a couple of I'll have to we'll have to
Take some pictures and let us know.
I will. I was just gonna
I
say
got one about 350 yards to due east of me. That something, as Bigfoot researchers, we had a debate of whether Bigfoot's doing it or not, but something's doing it. And when it's doing it, Bigfoot usually is around. And I have an image. Actually, one of the images I use in the beginning of my videos is that of one of the we call him an Ohio grass man. It's like a cross between a Bigfoot and a dog man. I don't know. It's got a different type of face, and so and it then I got half of him like he's peeking and half. It's always got these tree peeking stuff. Half of it's peeking out, but you can see the eyes and nose and everything. And there's a tree structure there. But there's the big debate is like, what's all making these tree structures? Are they solely Bigfoot, or is other interdimensional beings working along Bigfoot and make these things? Are there some? Because look, they're finding. There's like tree structures everywhere. There's tree structures where there's no freaking trees on the beaches all over the place. Who made those? They're not human beings. Some of them could be human beings, but when you got some of these are massive. It would take a platoon of guys and would take them forever to build the teepee structures and make sure that they're driven into the ground so they don't go anywhere. And then you look at the traditions of the indigenous peoples, First Nation peoples, and how they would make these X structures and tree links, just like signposts and where to go, and like these teepee structures. And they, instead of taking all the wood from one place to the next place and back and forth, they would stash them there, right? They'd leave them together like teepee, right? There'd be bunches of them, right? And they would have certain places, so they staging areas to go back and forth through the seasons, right? And I wonder how much of that of the First Nation peoples or spirits or their spirits are involved with this, along with Sasquatch. And we got a lot of questions. It's fascinating, this whole thing, right? Because it makes you realize something. You don't know shit. And the other thing is that this world's a lot bigger than you ever realized, and that there's something bigger going on. So the wands, how does that work then with the meditation? How do you go about doing it?
Well, I mean, I just meditate anyway. So, I mean, I just, you just like the smoky quartz is for protection, right? Protection and grounding. So intention is everything. What you intend to use it for matters. And the smoky quartz is for grounding and protection while I'm meditating. This is all moonstone. So this is, your intuition. You're like, it's basically the same thing as meditating with crystals, but you've just added extra elements. You've added the copper, you've added the stick for, it's like the earth element, the conducting of the energy element, the crystals, like it's just the combination of all of them. Now I used to use them a lot during meditation, and I don't so much anymore. And just because I think that and this is just my opinion, this is just how it works for me, or how it's worked for me, is that like when I first started getting into crystals, like every crystal felt like, like you're getting zapped by a battery. Like you can feel it so much, because you're whatever, just waking up, or you're just getting into crystals. So your body has to acclimate to it. I don't really feel the crystals as much now as I used to. And I think that's because I'm activated on the inside. Like I can think about a crystal now and feel what they feel like. You know what I mean?
I hear that a lot from people.
Yeah.
We got crystals and within us, and then there's metals, heavy metals, and then the trees itself are full of, they absorb crystals, and Fascinating. Some of the stories here of these petrified trees. They used
Yeah.
to be full of crystals and gold. They used to be people just, that's how they would search. They look for petrified trees because they had a good chance they're going to find gold there. Which this makes you wonder how that all happens. And so,
Yeah, I've heard of that too.
there's a connection with it all, and the metals, copper, crystals, different rocks. What am I trying to say here?
Just got it. I just got what you were saying. Like they're all in the tree, and that's what I use to make the wands too.
That's right. So it's very interesting that you're doing your.
For a minute, it went over my head.
So I just want
So that pyramid there that you're showing that picture of, that came to me in a download when I was meditating one day. And this was, so I was in my remote viewing class for about a year. I did that. And one of the assignments that my remote viewing teacher gave me was to go talk to the Palladians and ask them what the next phase for humanity looked like. Now, in that picture, I don't know if you can see, it's cut off, but on the left side of the picture, there's a staff in the ground.
it must be right here in the corner.
Yeah.
You can barely see it.
Yeah. So
I didn't know it was there.
Yeah, and I think there's other pictures of the pyramid where the staff is showing on my page, but yeah. Anyway, so that was the assignment, was to go try to talk to the Palladians and ask them what the next phase for humanity was. Someone named Evelyn came to talk to me and showed me, there was actually kind of a lot to it, and I'm going to try to remember because I don't have my notebook with me right here. But the first thing that I saw was like a bottle, like an elixir bottle. It had some kind of liquid in it. And then I saw like a hand that was reaching down into the ground, and it was picking up herbs, like just like a hand picking up random herbs out of the ground. And then they showed me a mom and pop shop, which was like, they were just kind of saying things were going to get back to basics or whatever. But the last thing they showed me was to make that copper pyramid and to put it, it's sitting on my deck, which it's connected to wood. But they showed me to put that staff in front of the pyramid. That staff is actually in the ground, and that staff is wrapped in a whole piece of copper, a spiral piece of copper. And on the top of the staff, there's a crystal as well.
Did you weld it?
No, I just bought 4 corner pieces.
Okay.
Home Depot.
Sure.
Depot, copper rods, copper piping, with 4 corner pieces. And then I took the top and I bought like a spool of copper, like copper thread, and I just threaded it every which way until it was really solid on the top. But that thing is a healing pod. So when I get in that, it's not even, I don't really even, I have meditated inside of it a couple times, but mostly what I do in that pyramid is I just sit in it. And when I sit in it, I can see along the floorboard of my deck, the lights come on, purple and blue lights come on along the floorboard of the deck. And what fills up inside of the pyramid are pink and orange orbs.
Really?
Yes. And I can feel.
Did you ever get a chance to film any of them?
I've tried, but they actually have not shown up on my camera yet.
It's usually the way it goes. So
yeah. which is a little disappointing because I know, like, I've gotten other orbs on my camera, but they just, whatever, for whatever reason, I haven't been able to get a picture of that yet. I'll definitely keep trying. But I can feel when I sit in that, if I sit in that for like 15 minutes, and I, like, I still have problems with my shoulders occasionally. Like, they're much better. They're way better than they were a couple years ago. But, like, I still have some pain, whatever, it happens. But when I sit in that pyramid, it, like, you can feel it. It gets better. Like, pain goes away when you sit in that copper pyramid. It's pretty cool. And I don't know, like, this is one of those things where we're like, okay, so I went and asked the Palladians, right? I don't know if it was the Palladians. It could have been a trick. It could have been a trickster. It could have been somebody presenting themselves to me in a way that I felt comfortable to talk to them. I don't know. This
Yeah,
is this
that's the
is what we,
problem. That's the problem with doing these things. You just have no idea.
right, right.
The
But
Church
this
of Spirit is very prevalent and they're everywhere. So that's something you got to take in consideration.
right.
And
But I certainly don't feel worse for putting that
well,
together.
no, the pyramids shape has been something that I've heard numerous things, very positive things, and other
Mm-hmm.
in order for us other entities and spirits to manifest. And there was a time when I was hardcore Christian, we go, oh my gosh, it's witchcraft. Oh my gosh. And then, like, now
Yeah.
I'm just like, well, your craft doesn't help me. And the stuff, and maybe there are such and hell bent on demonizing this stuff, and is because maybe it threatens the lies that they're pushing on us, and that
Yeah.
maybe they sets us a bit freer. Um, what's the harm in trying? Of course,
Yeah.
they'll say stuff. I mean, I remember saying stuff and hanging out with guys. We used to look around because there'd be pyramids and stuff around. See, that's a witch doing this and that, and then, like, and they're casting a spell on somebody, and now I'm like, you know what? They probably deserved that spell in the first place. And secondly, I don't care anymore because of everything that I've gone through hanging out with you guys for a decade. I could care
Right.
less. You know what I mean? Because there's good, bad, and everywhere. So there's
Right.
you good luck finding good Christians. So if that's the problem, then it's probably just as much as that when it comes to any other group. So,
That's
but I don't see how that could be harming you to sit under that pyramid and meditate, even if it's just placebo, which I don't think it is. But I
right.
don't know for sure. But even if it's just placebo, but just the fact you're sitting on there and meditating in the fresh air. But I mean, there's a
And
lot of evidence when it comes to electroculture that copper, those copper rods shoved in the ground makes things grow
yeah,
dramatically bigger than anything else.
that's what I do
So
with all my scraps from when I'm making wands. If I have copper scraps, I put them, my house plants are doing great, but they all have copper in them. I can't.
did you see Jeremy Gibbs?
Jeremy once, yeah, that's a Lumerian on the top of the pyramid, and which is a clear crystal, and then inside of it is just a clear quartz, and on top of the staff that you can't really see is a clear quartz. They're all clear quartz.
So have you thought about somehow grounding this to the ground?
Well, it's
Like,
on the deck. The deck is on the ground, and the wooden staff is in the ground, and it's touching the deck.
okay. Well, it's
So
just also, it's just like
it's all
copper or some kind of like copper spikes or something like that. You just get some strips and just make them in a horseshoe thing
yeah.
and anchor them into the ground and see how that would affect things.
Mm-hmm. Well, the copper is wrapped
I mean,
around that
and I
staff.
mean, like being on the dirt type of thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
You know
it's
what I'm saying?
the staff is in the dirt.
Right.
The pyramid is not in the dirt, but the pyramid can move. The pyramid's easy to move.
It looks like it's light enough to move.
Yeah.
How tall is it?
It's
About
like
6 feet, 5 feet,
no, it's like
four,
four,
4.5.
yeah, 4.5.
Looks
That's
like
I'm really short. So I'm 4'10". I'm trying to think. Is it like eye level to me? The top is. I want to say it's pretty eye level to me. So it's like
it's
close
got to
to
be at least 3 feet. It's three and a
it's
half feet.
5.
It's probably 3 to 4 feet. It'd be interesting to document that. Have you been documented to see what kind of effects that has on you?
I mean, I haven't really written it down document wise, but
Because
just
we talk about this electroculture and all kind of
yeah.
stuff, and I'd be interested to see what kind of healing effects that has on you.
I mean, I definitely feel better every time that I sit in it. Like if I'm just having pain, if I'm just having back pain, it goes away. The back pain goes away. Like 15 minutes. You don't even have to sit in it for very long.
I wish I had one of those in my place right now.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Home Depot, man.
I'll just be sitting in it. This is what I'd be doing at this point.
Yep. Home Depot. It was all under like right under $200. And so for $200, I have my own healing pod in the backyard, and that's what I call it. I call it my healing pod because I feel better after I sit in it, as opposed to paying money to go to the doctor, paying for the pills that are gonna take the pain away for what, 6 hours, and then the pain comes back. It's like it's just like, yeah, they don't want us to know that these things can heal us because that's cutting into their bottom line. That's taking money away from them. You know, if
Yeah.
we heal ourselves, then what do we need them for? And that's, like,
Well, we'd all be better off. What do they call that stuff? Like the Egyptian princesses. They have that stuff. It's like on their face, and it's like, I want to say like a shawl, but it's not a shawl. It's like little beads that they go like around their head,
I don't
like
know.
rocks and beads, and like strings of beads and metal and it's not. It's like a crown, but it's upside down. But it's just
It's
beads.
like decorative and it hangs down.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I wonder if that's the reason why they did that too. I wonder what those stuff was really made of. I wonder if back then that the Egyptian queens and all that. Well, here's a little secret. Most people think pharaohs were men. The pharaohs were women. It turns out the men were the kings, and we were misinformed about that as well.
Yeah.
We were told, growing up, that the men were the pharaohs, when it turns out the female were the pharaohs,
Yeah.
and the men were the kings. The pharaohs didn't go to war; the men's went to war, so they screwed up everything
Yeah.
because they wanted to just. This law of reversal. I mean, when you start studying witchcraft, and then you overlay that over Christianity, Judeo-Christianity, and that Bible, and you're like, that damn book is nothing but black magic. It really is.
I know.
That's why I burnt it. And when weirdest things happened, and I made a lot of people upset, and a lot of people dropped me. It's like the huge heavy weight was just released off me, and that book, and like trying to prove, the legitimacy of it, the truth of it, arguing with it, all that, it just went away. It just like once I burned it, it no longer owned me.
By doing that.
What's that?
Like you literally cut the cord from that programming by doing that.
Sure did.
Yeah.
And I filmed it too. It's on TikTok. It's also on YouTube. And I actually lost a lot of weight too. I was out of shape a little bit.
Yeah.
But I know that upset a lot of people, but I had to set myself free. It's just, the amount of confusion and arguing and the bickering, and no one could ever get anything, and no one knows what the hell they're talking about. And it's like, it's just, I could really go in depth, but I don't want to. My point in being all this is that magic is real. And the law of reversal seems to be what's been applied on us. And so they demonize the what people have called, maybe they say they've practiced witchcraft or whatever. I don't know. I don't know if you practice something or not. This really doesn't matter to me. You're a good person. That's all that matters to me. So,
I practice spirituality. That's my claim.
there you go. So, but you know what I'm saying. So a lot of people look at this, especially Christians, and say, "Oh, they're practicing witchcraft," and I'm like, you guys really need to check yourself because you're under a terrible spell, and you guys are practicing witchcraft and you don't even realize it.
Right.
And what they're talking about, this stuff is about healing you.
Yeah.
It's about self-help. It's about interacting with our generational familiar spirits. And we were always told that was something that's terrible.
Right.
And now I'm starting to realize that maybe we should have been doing that all along. Interacting with these regional and generational and familiar spirits. I hear an interesting report. It's happened a couple of times. So these people were doing their seance thing or something. They're having something. Well, anyways, an apparition showed up, a human apparition, right?
Okay.
And so the apparition noticed that the human observers were observing it, and it got scared. The ghost got scared of the humans. And I was thinking about that. And I think, it's so interesting because we're talking about beings that are in parallel universes or dimensions. They're probably so the apparition, the ghost, is probably looking at us thinking that we're ghosts, right? If he get freaked out looking at us, and they're, you know what I'm saying? It's all based on ignorance. And these things are not there to hurt us. Right. You might get some weird knocks in the house and see some weird things and get a little freaked out here and there, but they're not there to hurt you.
No. And if they were, they could have.
They could have. It's just like Sasquatch. Sasquatch, you hear all these horror stories. Oh my gosh, it was a monster. Scared when I crapped my pants. So did it touch you? No.
Right. It's like, well, that's because you got scared.
That's right, because you're not used to seeing a Sasquatch.
You got scared.
Now, if you're used to seeing moose or a grizzly bear running around in your property once in a while, you would maybe get concerned, but you wouldn't be quite as frightened. After a while, you get used to the situation, right?
Yes.
But it's so, and these are like grown men with their guns and everything, and act like Mr. Rambo, and I was like, Jesus, there's something seriously wrong with what's going on, man. This whole place doesn't make any sense, So maybe you're right. You look at these pyramids, and over and over again, you're finding these pyramids in all cultures, and there's a reason for it.
Yeah.
And there's certain power behind it all,
There's pyramids everywhere. I mean, from earth plane to astral plane to where, like, when I'm meditating, that I see pyramids usually as I'm going into meditation and as I'm coming out of meditation. Something interesting came to me, I don't know, it was like a couple weeks ago. And I was meditating, and I don't know why, things just pop into my head or whatever, but it occurred to me that pyramids are memories. Like that there are memories inside of pyramids as well.
It's made out of stone. Stone have a memory.
Yeah.
And a lot of times there are hieroglyphics it's carved within them on the sides. There's memories of the fact that the manipulation of it from human beings. One of the things too is thinking about how so I think one of the keys in the way the pyramids were made was also connected with Bigfoot tree structures. Now we hear about this stuff, and everybody's heard stuff about like Solomon's the keys of Solomon, and it's Solomon's whatever that was. What is it? The Temple of Solomon, or whatever. However they made the temple. For some reason, I'm having a blank right now.
Yeah.
I got the book. I got the books I need to read. There's a couple books I need to read. online. But anyways, so somehow a pyramid like tree structure will show up, and no one knows how it was made. There's no footprints or anything around where the pyramid. It's like they just floated in the air, like something just carried them there. And the night when no one was looking, and they just showed up, and they just seemed to show up like pixie sticks or Lincoln logs, and just kind of like that kind of thing. How did they just show up one day? At times, and they're built on and that kind of stuff, but the same thing, I imagine they harness the spirits as well to make some of these great megalithic structures of the past. It's a possibility. Maybe they did that for some, and then others they used giants. And well, the way this confusing madhouse that we live in, it's got to be like three different directions going this way and that way, and no one ever quite gets the correct answer. But something was happening to make those pyramids.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? We talk about the technology, but we don't know what that technology is. People just guess. I have a hard time believing, the nonsense coming out of physical science and the mainstream media. That's how they built those temples. You know what I mean? That's that. I mean, that you would have to use a shitload of logs. You would have to use an awful lot of force, and just to get the right shaped logs.
Right.
And then, I mean, they're saying they raft those huge blocks down the Nile. BS. They didn't do that.
No.
I don't know how they made it. No one knows how they made it. But I think a key is in those Bigfoot tree structures. However they make it probably is the same thing they harness to make these pyramids of the past. Interaction with spirits and energy. I'm
gonna have to get on the Bigfoot.
It's all connected.
Yeah.
So we've been talking for freaking 3 hours, and it's been a great 3 hours, and I really appreciate it. If anybody that hears this, how are they going to get one of your wands?
They can email me at amyswands@gmail. It's at Gmail. amyswands@gmail.com.
If it's, I could put it in the information box, or how about this? Or they can, if you go to Spiritual Intentions 777 TikTok as well.
Yes.
If you are interested, I'm trying to think here. I don't know if it's.
And I do custom orders. I mean, all of these are, most of them are mine. There's a couple of these that are for sale, but I do custom orders for people. Like I'll work with whatever kind of stone anybody, you got a favorite stone you work with, then that's what I'll use.
Which would be amazing. So amethyst, is that the one, the black stone that comes like the scry mirror stuff? I wonder how, if you made one. What's that?
Amethyst is generally purple, but they do have black amethyst actually.
Is that what it is? I'm trying to think of which is that they make scry mirrors with that black stone. That'd be interesting having that in there.
Yeah.
It's to be able to visualize and see, because they're like a scry mirror, so you'll be able to see anything that might be with you.
Cool.
I've seen that. I've seen reflection of entities so it does work.
Really?
They're scary looking though. They're ghosts, they're ghouls, they're monsters, and if you're not used to it,
I've seen.
If you've been brainwashed by Hollywood, you're gonna think they're monsters. So.
Well, so here's the thing. I know we're getting ready to get off of here, but what I have found through meditation and remote viewing is that a lot of times the scary things, the things that look scary, the things that look gnarly are like not, and the things that are really pretty are the things that come in as tricksters and they're not always so. Just because it's pretty doesn't mean it's good, is what I'm trying to say. And just because it doesn't look nice doesn't mean it's bad.
Can't judge a book by its cover. That's one of the lessons you learn in this.
Yeah, I mean, I almost find that like the times that I have really had a problem with entities were 2 times in particular were because I was like, "Oh, you're so pretty." Let it come on up to you, and next thing you know, you can't move, kind of shit. And you're like, "Oh, no, not pretty, not pretty." That's happened to me twice, where just something that looked so pretty was not, so you can't, yeah, you can't.
That's happened to me a lot of times. That's the reason I live in daddy's home and the daddy place, and she's got the house and the cottage. And she gets the child support. She sure was pretty, that's for sure. She was damn pretty. And I guess at the end of the day, I can't complain. I got, but she was pretty. My gosh. Mean as a rattlesnake, though. God, it's mean as a rattlesnake. If I'd have known of what I would got myself into.
That was funny.
But then again, I got my son, so I guess. But then again, we just got through talking about the soul trap matrix. And I'm like, I'm bringing my son in this world. And I'm like, did I do you any good? Did my lust and for your mom just screw you over? I'm sorry, buddy.
Buddy,
he was hot. What was I supposed to do, bro? She was cute. So mean as a rattlesnake. That's what her mom said, Mike. The only mistake you made is you fell in love with my daughter. That's all you did. She's mean as a rattlesnake. But anyways, so we'll put the information in if it's all right with you, the email and the information box. I'll update it.
Yeah.
And thank you, Amy. I had a great evening with you. It was fun.
I had so much fun talking to you. I absolutely would love to come back and do it again anytime.
Yeah, let's do it. There's so much more time. You just realize everything's revolves around this, isn't it? It's all. I mean,
yeah, and we really just scratched the surface. I mean, I'm telling you, there's a lot more to talk about, but just a little introduction to Amy tonight.
Yes, it was excellent. So thank you very much. All the rest of you, Jeremy, if you're still here, Dawn, Diesel, if you're still here. I know people are packing out. There's just a few of you left now. Sanja, thank you. If I pronounce your names wrong, please forgive me. I'm not good at names. I'm not good at reading at all. Sanctuary of Knowledge, thank you. And everyone else, thank you very much for being there. Don't forget to like this if you want more of this. I hate doing this because I could care less about the numbers, but the analytics. If you guys don't like this stuff, then people think that, like my guests think that you don't like it and you're not interested, and then they don't come back. So if you are interested in this, then like it, okay? You don't have to like my channel. I mean, just like the video. So and yeah, we'll talk to you soon. So I'm going to end with a song, and I think I'm going to do a cool song. Let's see what we're going to end with.
Okay.
I'm going to do Karma. I want it. The Karma Vulture is a good band. Believe it or not, even the name's kind of weird. I think I'm going to do Coffee. Sorry for the delay here. I didn't show thought about this. La Morada. Does it sound like a nice song?
Sure.
Let's do it that, okay? It's great talking to you, Amy.
You too, Mike. Thank you. Bye, everybody.
Bye-bye.